Traitor! Legendary Harem system activated!
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei was framed and got legendary power harem system movie. Before we start, please go support Draconarius23 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. What would you say if you suddenly gained a strange ability that would make your life relatively easy, as well as change it completely? Well, that's what happened to Issei, a boy who was orphaned when he was 15 years old and who lives his day-to-day life to get ahead. The boy who studies at a prestigious academy and has a bad reputation because of some idiots who accused him of things he didn't do. One day he woke up like any other, ready to get ready for school, but what a surprise he got when this message appeared in his field of vision. Congratulations, you have been chosen to carry a player system. And now her life will take a different turn, for better or for worse. Join Issei in his new life as a gamer. Clarifications. In this fic, Issei is not a pervert. Yes, I know, it's a bit of a cliché, but that's how it stays. I will follow the canon up to the battle against Trihexa, that is, volume 21, there the canon goes in another direction, and I will only use the Hell Alliance as the final enemies of the story. There will be journeys to other worlds, some short and some long. This will be a multi-crossover story, though not many, a maximum of 6. These are the worlds I have planned. Nier Automata, Heart of the Dead, and Resident Evil. This one might change. If you'd like to suggest a world, feel free, but they must be worlds with short stories or that can be summarized, and please specify which ones, as I'll only be using 2 or 3. Issei will be a bit of an otaku without being a full-fledged one, although what he likes most are video games, mostly RPGs, and Final Fantasy will be his favorite. She will be part of the Gremory entourage because that's how I like it and that's how it will stay, since that's what I plan to do since I came up with the idea for the story. If you think it will be op from the start, well, let me tell you that I won't try to avoid that, and it will be a progressive leveling. I already have the guidelines for the levels, and I have more or less structured the different power levels that will be used. The skill may be called gamer, but it won't necessarily grant video game powers. Nor will it function like the gamer skill to prevent any specific action from becoming a skill. For that, there will be skills that can be purchased or obtained. At this time I have several skills and powers in mind, but I will only use some of them. If any of you have an idea about skills for a specific character, I would appreciate it if you would tell me. I'm not sure whether to give Issei a sacred gear since he won't be the Sekiryuutei, but his gamer ability will allow him to absorb all 8 pawns. Saji will be the Sekiryuutei, so I'm not sure whether to make Issei wield Vritra or some other sacred gear again, but you all can tell me. That has sacred gear, not Longinus. That does not have sacred gear. I will try to update this fic every 2 weeks. 0 system. Congratulations, you have been chosen to carry the player system. Those were the strange words he read from a mysterious blue screen that appeared floating in front of his eyes as soon as he woke up. What the hell is going on? He wondered, referring to what had just happened to him early that morning. Who is he? You might be wondering, well. He is Issei, a normal boy who attends Kuo Academy and whom life has treated like shit. He has no parents, as they died when he was 15 in a car accident and the culprit fled the scene. His childhood was not very good since he suffered from bullying from 5th to 6th grade. His high school years weren't the best as he was also a target of school bullying and had no friends because they didn't want to get into trouble because of him. The only things left for him to escape reality were video games and anime and manga, along with light novels. Although he also had another hobby that came after watching his father watch boxing on television. He became an otaku and almost became a hikikomori because of what happened to his parents, but he decided to move forward and fulfill a promise he had made to his parents, to be someone of good use in life. A year ago she entered Kuo Academy, which used to be an all-girls academy, but after a change of director this changed and it became co-ed. Even today, this academy has a high percentage of female students, exceeding male students by 70%. This is all because the entrance exam is difficult and very few people complete it. He entered the academy thinking he could have a better school life and make friends, but nothing ever goes as planned. This is due to a problem that resulted in him becoming the target of hatred from all the girls at the academy, or at least most of them. It all happened one day during lunchtime. He was passing near the women's changing rooms on the outside when he came across a group of idiots spying on the girls who were changing. Because he wanted to help, he ended up being seen as guilty. Since the group of idiots was led by one of the academy's bullies and he hit him and left him lying there, the rest boils down to an unjustified beating by the girls who thought he was spying on them. After that, he was branded a pervert in the eyes of most of the academy, even though he was not guilty of it. There wasn't a day that went by without him being bothered, and well, everything was getting worse and worse with what was happening, but he endured it because he had a goal to achieve. To get good grades and get into a good university to get a degree that would benefit him in his future. Even without friends, he lived his daily life peacefully. But that changed this morning. It was 5 o'clock because she had to get up early to make her breakfast and clean the house before going to the academy. Okay, I shouldn't have watched an anime marathon until 11, he said to himself, looking at that light blue box floating above his face. I didn't understand a thing about what was happening, as it seemed very surreal and even impossible. Perhaps he's still dreaming. Yes, that would be a possibility. I'm sorry to tell you, host, that you're awake, said a synthetic voice coming from nowhere. Okay, if I'm not dreaming, I must be hallucinating from lack of sleep, Issei said, looking at the picture. The host is free of all negative status, his HP and MP are full, he does not suffer any kind of anomaly, said the voice again, and Issei just let out a long sigh. Okay, so this is real, Issei said, falling into acceptance since he had no other alternative. Indeed, we are in real life, this is real, host said the synthetic voice, and Issei sighed again. Well, whatever, what exactly is this player system? Issei asked, intrigued. The term sounded familiar to him. The player system is just as it sounds, an RPG-based stat system that turns the host's life into a video game, with their stats reflected in points. They can gain experience points, level up and acquire skills, along with other things. He explained the system, to which Issei was surprised. Like, the typical state of an RPG character, Issei said, understanding what he meant. Basically the system replied, and Issei was surprised by that. Wow, so how did he get into the system? Issei asked. For that, the host must think Issei's system to access their system, the system explained, and Issei nodded. System, Issei said, as he was alone and a blue screen appeared in front of him. Something like this, to give you an idea. This one doesn't have numbers because I'll be using this template image to update the status periodically. System. Name Haidu Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 10-100 exp. HP 100 100ths, 2 HP 1 minute. MP 50 50ths, 2 MP 1 minute. AP, ability points, 0. G, gold, 0. STR 10. Bit 10. X 7. N 7. Buzz 7. Jaw 9. Luck 20. Wow, so it's like an RPG's, awesome. Said the brunette, looking at his stats. The layout was somewhat similar to that of an RPG. I could see in the system box, in the upper left, an image of his face, to the right of this were the HP and MP bars, and below these were the normal stats. He also saw an interface that reminded him of the old Final Fantasy games, with different sections. Statistics. Skills. Items. Team. Lottery. Store. I look at the skills section, which opens and reveals the only basic skills it has. Skills. Player Mind LVL Max. Allows the user to think things through calmly and logically. Enables a calm state of mind. Immunity to mental disorders. Player Body LVL Max. Grants a body that allows the user to experience the real world as a game. Sleeping in a bed restores HP, MP, and all adverse effects. Well, at least I know it's definitely like in an RPG, and that whole player mind thing is good, it'll keep me calm in certain situations, the brunette said, nodding contentedly. So now I possess a skill that could give me advantages, he said, smiling. With this, his life could change for the better. Indeed, the player's system could turn the host into someone powerful, depending on how they use it, the system explained, and Issei understood. By the way, what's this about the store and the lottery? He asked, intrigued by these sections. The shop is, as its name suggests, a place where you can buy all kinds of items in exchange for gold, G, and the lottery is, as its name indicates, a lottery where you can get items from the shop, but this depends more on the host's luck, the system explained, and Issei nodded in understanding. So, what exactly is this shop linked to? Issei asked, intrigued. The store is linked to this plane and to fiction in general, although in this case, it will be linked to your favorite pastime, video games, anime, manga and light novels, the system explained, and Issei smiled. That means I can buy anything linked to those sources, Issei said, excited by the idea. Correct, the system replied, and Issei smiled even more. Great, that means I can get fictional things, Issei said happily, since he could possess what every kid wanted. Powers. Anyway, I guess skill points only work with stats, he said to the system. Exactly, stats can be raised by the skill points you receive at each level, you can distribute them however you like, the system replied, making Issei understand better. After all, he's played enough RPGs to know how this works. Well, do you have a name? Issei asked, he really didn't want to be calling system, whoever was explaining all this to him. I don't have a proper name at the moment, but the host can provide me with one if that makes you feel more comfortable, said the system, and Issei understood, so he started to think. He thought for a few minutes until an idea came to him. Well, I'll call you Alexis, said the brunette, smiling slightly. Processing name accepted, change in progress, change complete, nice to meet you Issei-kun, thank you for giving me a name. Now the synthetic voice changed to a more feminine and animated one, in addition to a small screen appearing where the appearance she took appeared. Well, I'm counting on you from now on, Alexis, Issei said, smiling. I hope I can be of help, haha, said Alexis, and Issei felt refreshed upon hearing that melodious giggle. Now he had obtained this strange system, but well, things will change from now on. One first day as a gamer, I make a friend. Moments later. Issei had already finished his household chores before going to the academy. Alright, time to get ready, Issei said, glancing at the clock on the living room wall. 7:10, I have time, he told himself, and then. Random mission has been created on time. Arrive at Kuo Academy on time, avoid being late. Reward. 20 rep, reputation, with Sauna Shitori, 20 rep with the teachers, 150 exp, 300 G failure. Minus 30 rep with Sauna Shitori and teachers, scolding from teachers and a warning from Sauna Shitori. Okay, what is this, Alexia? Issei asked his new partner. A random mission, these are created depending on the situation you find yourself in, and the rewards vary, they can range from the simplest to the most complicated, that's why they are random, said Alexia, and Issei understood. Then, if things go wrong, hurry up. I'm not one to fail a mission, Issei said, going to take a quick bath before heading to the academy. Some time later. There he was, there were 10 minutes left before classes started. Damn it, and all because I missed my train at the station. The brunette complained, running quickly. He had left his house at 7 o'clock heading to the station, but arrived a few minutes late when he had to help an old lady cross the street, although that gave him 50 exp and 100 G, but that made him miss the first train, and he had to wait until 7:20 for the next one, adding that he had to go another way when he saw a group of criminals on his usual route, left him in this situation. Come on Issei, you can do it, I know you'll make it, Alexia encouraged him to finish the mission, which was a relief. There were 5 minutes left when he arrived fully at the entrance of the academy, where Sauna Shitori, accompanied by her colleague and vice president, Tsubaki Shinra, saw him arrive. Phew, just in time, Issei said, wiping the sweat from his face with a handkerchief. He looked at the two dark-haired girls and smiled kindly. Good morning, Kaichu and Fukakeichu, the brown-haired boy greeted them. Good morning, said Sauna, surprised to see Issei arrive on time, given that there are several occasions when he arrives late. Good morning, said Tsubaki, just as surprised as Sauna, since they see Issei as an irresponsible pervert who is always late. Issei nodded and hurried into the academy. He had to go to his classroom. Random mission completed, you have leveled up, you get 10 AP, and that pleased him. I would see his system later. Room 2B. On time, said Issei, taking his place. Everyone in the room saw him, but only one person deigned to approach him. Wow, what a miracle to see you arrive on time, said a smiling Kiryu, approaching the brunette. Oh, Ika, good morning, Issei greeted politely to the only person who approached him to talk. Good morning Ice, what happened that made you come so early? She asked, interested. Well, not much, I was just able to leave home early, that's all, said the brunette, and Ika understood, since she knew that the brunette didn't have parents. That's good, at least you won't have to endure the scolding from the teachers and the student council president, Ika said, happy for the brunette. You're right, that's good, Issei said, smiling. After a brief exchange, Ika went to her seat and the teacher entered to give his lesson. This time Issei paid attention, and that's how he spent his time until lunchtime. Some time later. You have obtained 5 int and 2 wis. He looked at the notification that arrived. What's this? He wondered, confused. Now he was eating his bento on the academy's rooftop, since it was one of the few places where he wasn't bothered. That's due to studying. Depending on what you learn and its difficulty, you can passively raise those 2 stats, Alexia explained, and Issei was surprised. Does the same apply to the other stats? He asked, intrigued. Yes, but that can only be done once a day, and it varies depending on the difficulty of what you're doing, Alexia replied, and Issei understood. So if I start training like Saitama, I could increase my strength quickly. Issei said excitedly. Well, not necessarily, since as I said, the resulting increase depends on the difficulty of the action you perform. If we use that example you gave, it will only give you an increase up to a certain point. Then you will have to increase the difficulty of the exercise to be able to raise your stats more and better, she said, and Issei nodded. Well, not everything is free, said the chestnut-haired man, understanding that nothing would be easy. Well, I'd better check my system, he said, and opened the system interface. System. Name Haidu Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 2 and 100 200 sexp. HP 275 275, 5 HP 1 minute. MP 150 150s, 2.5 MP 1 minute. AP 10. G 400. STR 13. Bit 15. X 9. Int 15. Was 12. Ta 10. Luck 20. Well, I'm halfway to level 2, that's good, he said to himself, then looked at which stats to raise. He distributed the points and looked at the result. Name Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 2 and 100 200 sexp. HP 345 345, 5 HP 1 minute. MP 150 150s, 2.5 MP 1 minute. AP 0. G, gold 400. STR 16. Bit 17. X 10. Int 15. Was 14. Ta 11. Luck 22. Well, it was little but also a lot, he thought contentedly. Then I heard someone open the rooftop doors and I saw a girl I didn't know enter. She is beautiful, with long black hair, black eyes, fair skin, and wears the academy uniform. She has a voluptuous figure and breasts comparable to one of the academy's older sisters, Akeno Hajimete. The two looked at each other, Issei not expecting to see such a beautiful girl and she not expecting to see anyone on the rooftop. No one knew what to say. Edo, she said somewhat timidly, since she didn't really expect to see anyone there. Hi, the brunette greeted somewhat nervously. Apart from Ika, he hadn't had contact with any other girl from the academy. Hello, she said, smiling slightly. They remained silent again until she spoke again. Hentai? She asked, pointing to some benches in front of the chestnut tree. Of course, I don't see why not, Issei said, and she smiled as she proceeded to sit down. Issei looked at her for a moment and spoke. Excuse me, Issei called to her. Yes? She asked, looking at him. Are you by any chance new? The brunette asked, since he hadn't seen her before, even though he knew almost everyone in the school. Yes, I was just transferred 2 days ago, she said, and Issei understood. Oh, I see, by the way, my name is Issei introduced himself since he thought it was rude of him not to introduce himself. Nice to meet you, Haidu-san, I'm Kitsura Kotonoha, she introduced herself with a lovely smile that charmed Issei. The two fell silent again, but Issei decided to speak. And how do you feel at the academy? Issei asked, trying to make conversation. It's going well for me, it's a nice place, she said, smiling. That's good, Issei said, and so they fell silent again, Issei not knowing what to say. He had never been able to talk much with any girl other than Ika. Do you always eat alone? She asked, looking at the brunette. Yes, the truth is that I'm not someone with friends, he said, revealing his sad reality, and she was surprised. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked that, she apologized, thinking that it made Issei uncomfortable. You don't have to, after all, it's my reality. I only have one friend, so to speak, but she has friends, and that's why she's not always with me, that's why I usually eat alone, Issei said with a sad smile, making Kotonoha feel bad for him. Oh, that's too bad, she said, feeling sorry for the chestnut-haired boy. Yes, but I got used to it, he said with a calm smile. She looked at him for a few seconds and then spoke. Well, if you want, we could be friends, she offered, somewhat embarrassed, since she wasn't the type to ask for that. Upon hearing such a proposal, Issei was surprised, since he did not expect such a beautiful girl as her to offer to be friends. Really? He asked, surprised. Yes, I mean, I don't have any friends either, since I'm new to the academy, and it's very difficult for me to connect with others, she said shyly, which was true. Issei smiled at that. This girl was nice. Okay, fine, I accept being your friend Kitsura-san, said the brunette, smiling. I hope we get along well, Haidu-san, Kotonoha said with a smile. And so a friendship is born. Kitsura Kotonoha 15 rep. He looked at the notification that jumped out at him as he returned to his classroom after talking to Kotonoha for a while. What's this about reputation, Alexia? Issei asked, intrigued. Simply put, reputation is what an individual feels for you, and it's divided into types. From 10 to 100 is friendship, from 110 to 200 is interest beyond friendship, and from 210 to 300 is romantic feeling, with the top being love. If the reputation exceeds 300, the individual will fully trust you if they are a man, and will love you very much if they are a woman, she explained, and Issei understood. Can I see that, right? Issei asked. Yes, another section was unlocked when you earned your first reputation points with Sauna Shitori, Alexia replied. I still have many things to see, the chestnut-haired man thought. He arrived at his classroom and classes resumed as normal, with him earning 3 points in Int and 1 in Whis. Then he left the academy to go to his part-time job since he had to support the household somehow. So he took the train to the city center to go to his job. He eventually landed a job at a family restaurant where he has been working for a year now in order to support his family. He entered through the back because he doesn't like entering through the front. There he ran into his boss who greeted him and the chestnut-haired man proceeded to do his job as a waiter. The place was busy and the pay was good. He could afford his food and the money he used daily. His bills were paid by a maternal aunt who lives in Tokyo. Random mission created a good job. Perform your job well and with good results. Reward. 300 exp, 500 G, 30 rep with your boss, 5 dex. Failure. Nothing and you get fired. And so he moved up a level. He left work for home, but not before picking up the ingredients for his dinner. After that, he headed home. She went inside and turned on the lights, went to her room to leave her things and change into more comfortable clothes, went back downstairs and into the kitchen. I cooked her dinner and when she was about to eat. New skill acquired Master Chef, medium, that skill caught his attention and he quickly went to the skill section to see exactly what that skill was. Master Chef, medium, passive rare, level 15, 35% exp, you are skilled in the culinary arts, better than anyone your age. All your food is of high quality and you could easily pass for a culinary prodigy. Benefit. 50% learning of culinary recipes, 20% reputation with a chef when you give them your food, 35% cooking dexterity, 30% your food tastes better. Wow, what a great skill, although it would only be useful if I wanted to start my own business, said the brunette, observing the skill. Or if you work as a cook, Alexia mentioned. True, although I doubt the boss will want to make me the cook, Issei said, knowing that he only had the job because the boss was a friend of his father. Anyway, I'd better eat now before it gets cold, and so he started eating. End 1. Name Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 3 and 200 sex. HP 450 9 HP 1 minute. MP, 175 175, 3.5 MP 1 minute. AP, ability points, 10. G, gold, 900. STR 18. Bit 20. Dex 17. And 19. Wiz 16. Ta 15. Luck 25. Skills. Player Mind LVL Max. Allows the user to think things through calmly and logically. Enables a calm state of mind. Immunity to mental disorders. Player Body LVL Max. Grants a body that allows the user to experience the real world as a game. Sleeping in a bed restores HP, MP, and all adverse effects. Master Chef, medium, passive rare, level 15, 35% exp, you are skilled in the culinary arts, better than anyone your age. All your food is of high quality and you could easily pass for a culinary prodigy. Benefit. 50% learning of culinary recipes, 20% reputation with a chef when you give them your food, 35% cooking dexterity, 30% your food tastes better. Do putting the trash in its place. 1 week later, Kuo Academy. It's been a week since he gained his new ability. Needless to say, not much has happened to highlight from those days. She followed her daily routine. She got up, cleaned her house, then went to the academy, attended classes, and finally went to work. She returned home, prepared her dinner, and then went to rest. The only thing that happened was that his reputation with Kotonoha rose to 60 points and his Master Chef skill level went up 1 level, in addition to his reputation with Sauna reaching 40. Another thing that might stand out is his new ability. Observe level 25, 55% exp. Through continuous observation, an ability to observe objects, situations, and people was developed, allowing the user to gather information quickly. The higher the skill, the more data is obtained. She tried it out for a while, looking at various things, although sometimes it was impossible not to see the descriptions, and so she ended up seeing this description. Name, Sauna Shitori. Age 18 years. Idle Iron President. Level. And that surprised him. First, there was the matter of her name, implying that it was an alias, and second, there was the level. He couldn't see what level she was, but he dismissed it, since worrying about such things wasn't very useful. And from then on, nothing else has happened, except that every 2 days his int increases by 8 points and his whiz by 3, along with the fact that he has been planning to start a training regimen, but he hasn't had enough time for that. That brings us to today, where I was calmly chatting with Kotonoha on the rooftop where they have made a habit of meeting. So you came to live here because your mom divorced your dad, Issei said after hearing how she ended up in Kuo. Yes, my dad cheated on my mom, and she immediately filed for divorce. We came here because this is where my mom grew up, Kotonoha said with a touch of sadness. Wow, that's tough, but I imagine they're doing well now, Issei said, and she smiled slightly. Yes, one of the radish branches that mom supervises is here in Kuo, and we're doing well, she said calmly. And you? What are your parents like? She asked, since she didn't know much about Issei yet. About that, I haven't told you yet, but my parents died 3 years ago in a traffic accident, Issei said, somewhat melancholic as he remembered that. Konoha opened her eyes in shock. She hadn't expected that and felt bad for reminding Issei of a bad time. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to remind you of that, she apologized, but Issei shook his head. Relax, you didn't know about that, you don't have to apologize, said the brunette with a slight smile, and she just looked at him sadly. But don't you have any family members who can help you? No one taking care of you? She asked, and Issei shook his head. I've been living alone for 3 years now. I had to get a part-time job to support myself, although I'm grateful to a maternal aunt I have in Tokyo, who's paying the water, gas, and electricity bills, the brunette said, and she nodded. It must have been difficult, he said, sounding a little sad for his new friend. It was at first, but I had to keep going. I know mom and dad wouldn't have liked to see me depressed, so I kept going to at least live the life they gave me, Issei said with a somewhat melancholic smile, which made Konoha feel sorry for her friend. But anyway, I'm moving forward and getting by. I have a job to support myself, I'm putting effort into my studies and all that. At least I have good memories of them, he said, smiling, which brought a smile to Konoha's face. 20 rep with Konoha he looked at the light blue box and then put it aside. Issei was surprised by how easily he gained a reputation with her. It was abnormal, but he dismissed it since Auna barely gave him any points, but oh well. The two talked for a while longer until they had to return to their classrooms. Room 2B. Issei was sitting at his desk, looking at something on his cell phone when someone approached him. I heard you've become close to a girl from another class, should I be jealous? Aika said, smiling playfully at the brunette. Oh, I don't think so, you know I only have eyes for you, Issei said, playing along, something they usually do. I hope so, you know I don't like you chasing after other girls when you have me, Aika said, sitting down and smiling. But seriously, is that true? She asked, intrigued. Yes, she's from room 2A. I met her by chance a week ago when I was having lunch on the rooftop, Issei said, and she understood. So that's why I didn't see you at lunchtime, Ice. You're a sly one, you kept that one well hidden, Aika said, amused and happy that Issei at least had someone else to talk to. It's not that big of a deal. In fact, why don't you come have lunch with us tomorrow? I'll introduce you to her. I know you like her. Katsura-san is a very nice person, Issei said, and Aika nodded. Sure, I don't see why not, besides, that way I get to meet this new friend of yours, Aika said, and Issei smiled. So classes continued as normal, and the chestnut-haired boy ended up earning his 8 in points and 3 WIS points for the day. After school. Classes had already ended and he was on his way home, walking through the academy's hallways after his turn cleaning the classroom. I was calmly listening to music and observing the few students in the place, most of whom were members of some club. I walked through one of the hallways and saw that, unlike me, one of the most popular girls in the academy was coming towards me. Name Rias Gremory. Age 18 years. Idol the Great Onasama, number 1 beauty of Kuo Academy, president of the occult club. Level. Issei noticed that, just like with Sauna, he couldn't see Ria's level, and that only means that her level is too high for him to even see it. Meanwhile, the Redeed noticed the brunette, looked at him closely, and was a little surprised to feel a strange power coming from him. She was intrigued by that, since that power was high compared to the normal students of the academy, something strange. Issei walked past her without looking at her again. He didn't want to make her uncomfortable with his gaze, so he continued on his way. When she passed by him, she felt better about her power and found it interesting, something strange that she had never felt before in her short life. He's interesting, she thought, watching the chestnut-haired man's back disappear into the distance. Issei, meanwhile, was leaving the academy as usual. At least he got to see the beautiful Redeed up close, although it wasn't much, but it was the closest he could dream of being to her. It's not that he's in love with her, but he does find her attractive, like most of the girls at the academy. It's just that, being so popular and the president of an exclusive club like the occult club, it's more than obvious that someone like him would never just casually talk to her. Anyway, he continued on his way when he looked at the group of idiots who always bothered him. He tried to quickly move on from them. He didn't want any trouble since this week had been too good to deal with them. But nothing went right for him. Oh, but look who it is, it's our good friend Issei, commented the group leader, a brown-haired guy with a gay face. Issei looked at him and used observation to look at him. Name Saizu Kamiya. Age 17 years. Idle bully, brainless idiot, conceited piece of shit. Level 5. Issei sighed. It was one level below him, and the other 4 subjects ranged between level 1 and 3. I still didn't understand the leveling system as such, but people have been seen with levels from 10 to 68, with the highest levels being people like experienced athletes or martial artists. What do you want now, Kamiya? Issei asked calmly and bored. The man smiled arrogantly and looked at him. Simple, listen, we want to go have some fun, but we have a problem, we're short on cash, and since we saw you and knowing that we're very good friends, we want you to lend us 15,000 yen, Saizu said with a nasty smile that his companions imitated. Issei looked at him like he was stupid. He wasn't going to give him any of his money. No, I won't give you anything, Issei said with a frown. The guy saw it and burst out laughing. Ahaha, I think you're not understanding something here, and that is and Saizu punched him in the abdomen, catching him off guard. It's not a request, it's an order, he said seriously. Minus 15 HP. That hit lowered his life by that amount. DCH, this idiot, Alexia, please put 6 points into strength and the rest into vitality, Issei asked his partner. Right away done, she said, quickly showing him her condition. Name Haidu Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 3 and 200 300 sex. HP 575 590s, 10 HP 1 minute. MP, 210 210s, 5 MP 1 minute. AP 0. G900. STR 24. Bit 24. X 17. Int 43. Wiz 25. Ta 15. Luck 25. Now he felt a little stronger than before and looked at the idiots. He used to suffer bullying, even when his parents were alive. He always suffered it in one way or another. That led him to make a decision. To be strong and not let himself be bullied, although it took him a long time. He enrolled in boxing classes at a gym near his home, went on Saturdays, spent almost the entire day there and returned exhausted, but without pain there is no result. She started attending when she was 15, 4 months after her parents died. At first, it helped her push those bad thoughts out of her head, and she also felt stronger and stronger. It was something that nobody knew, not even Aika, who is her closest friend. Of course, when he entered Kuo everything was different. The type of aggression he received was more verbal than physical, something that hurt more, but he kept going. Although these subjects appeared later, that was recently at the beginning of the second year. Saizu Kamiya, a delinquent from another academy who ended up being accepted into Kuo Academy and made a name for himself there. He and his group of idiots started bothering him, although it never escalated to anything physical until now. And I wouldn't allow that. That's why I would use the passive voice I received when I went to the gym last Saturday. Boxing, intermediate, level 15, 15% exp. You are a skilled boxer trained to fight in amateur bouts. Benefit. Increases STR by 15%, increases dex by 10%. The gym he attended was owned by a retired boxer famous in Japan who was born here in Kuo. That man had trained people for those who wanted to learn to box, and that's why his skill level is in the mid-range, due to the effort he has put into it in those almost 3 years. Now give us the money before I hurt you more, you damn perverted piece of shit, Saizu said, looking at Issei with arrogance. Issei composed himself and took the breath that had left his lungs. Random mission created putting the trash in its place. Defeat Saizu and his companions, beat the shit out of them for trying to be too clever, and show them who's boss. Reward. 600 exp, 1000 G, 1 free lottery spin, a shop discount ticket, 30 rep on all students who are victims of Saizu and his companions. Failure. You get beaten up, minus 50 rep with victims of Saizu and his companions, suffer bullying while at the academy or another student institution, title, punching bag, that was the mission he was given. Issei was surprised by that and knew that if he didn't beat these 7, everything would go to hell and he would look like an idiot. Screw you Kamiya, I don't have to give you the money I earn with effort, you better get a job, Issei said angrily, taking some distance. This clearly annoyed the group of idiots and especially Saizu, since nobody ever said no to him. DRRR, now you're really not getting away with this, Haidu, go after him, he told 2 of his companions who approached Issei. The chestnut-haired man waited for them, getting into a fighting stance. The guys mocked him, thinking he was crazy. At that moment, the first one approached to try and hit Issei, but Issei stepped aside and delivered a powerful right hook to his face that knocked him to the ground. The other was surprised but was not intimidated. He lunged at Issei, who was waiting for him. The subject threw crazy punches at him, while Issei dodged them, thanks to the increase in his dex and the training he underwent in the gym. Issei got tired of dodging and unleashed a powerful punch to the abdomen that knocked the guy out of breath, finishing with a powerful high hook that knocked him to the ground. The other subjects and Saizu were surprised. They did not expect that the pervert Issei could defend himself in that way. Attack him, everyone. Saizu ordered, and the other 4 went after Issei. Issei waited for them and saw that one of them ran to try to distract him, but Issei stepped aside, but not before landing a right hook to his jaw that made him fall stunned. The other three arrived where Issei was and attacked him together. Issei knew that if things continued this way, it could end badly. He dodged the blows he could and received some. His HP dropped to 300 from the blows of the subjects, but after landing direct blows in good areas of the face, they fell defeated, leaving him with 230 HP. Wow, I didn't expect you to be able to beat them. Who would have thought an idiot like you knew about boxing? Saizu said, smiling arrogantly as he looked at a tired Issei. What? Are you scared? Issei asked, looking at the idiot who just smiled wider. This gave him a bad feeling. Not at all, since, well, I'm a black belt in karate, Saizu said, surprising Issei. Shit, he thought nervously, not expecting that guy to know karate. I was hoping to do something to him, since boxing is one thing and karate is another. Issei saw Saizu approaching him, while Issei was waiting for the right moment to attack. Saizu threw a kick that Issei barely dodged, but the subject did not stop there, he threw a straight punch to his chest, which the brunette received. 210 HP left. This bastard hits hard, Issei thought, seeing Saizu's arrogant smile. What? Scared, Haidu? Saizu asked with amusement. Not a bit, he said, and quickly threw a punch at the man, who blocked it and responded with a kick that severely injured Issei. It was a critical hit, now it has 180 HP left. Taking advantage of Issei's proximity, Saizu gave him a strong blow to the chest and another to the face. Remaining at 160 HP. Damn, if I keep going like this I'm going to lose, Issei thought, sore and tired. I would recommend you leave, but that would end in mission failure, and you have a lot to lose, Alexia said. Tell me, is there any way I can become stronger? Issei asked, looking at the smiling Saizu. I'll go look in the store, wait a moment, Alexia said, and Issei looked at Saizu. You know what? You could have saved yourself a beating if you had given us the money, but you made a stupid choice, and now I'm going to beat you up and take your money anyway, Saizu said confidently. Fuck you, stupid, I won't let you take my money. Issei said, lunging at Saizu. Saizu had more experience fighting, since he had been going to karate classes since he was a child, although he was expelled a year ago for bad behavior, he still practices in his free time. Even after almost 3 years of boxing training, Issei couldn't compare himself to a black belt. Saizu attacked with punches and kicks, while the chestnut-haired man defended himself as best he could against this idiot. I've already found the solution, Alexia told him, and the brunette was pleased. You're great, Alexia, the brunette said gratefully, bringing a smile to Alexia's face. 20 rep with Alexia this confused him, but he put it aside. New skill acquired until collapse. No matter how much it hurts or how much it costs, you will win even on the verge of collapse. Benefits. Increases STR by 40 and Dex by 30 when you enter the red zone of 10% HP. Side effects. Extreme fatigue, muscle pain effect for half a day. That skill, although somewhat strange, turned out to be good. It cost 500 G, but I absolutely had to have it. His HP was now at 170 as he healed 10 HP after a minute had passed. Doing his calculations, he needed to have 59 HP or less for this ability to activate. Well, if I want to win I have to suffer a little more, Issei thought, on his guard. Saizu attacked Issei relentlessly, growing increasingly frustrated as he failed to fall. Issei also managed to land a few blows that left him in pain, as Saizu's impatience to win was clouding his judgment. Issei was hit with a kick to the abdomen that knocked him to the ground. Critical hit minus 40 HP. Issei, after receiving so many blows, was left with 70 HP, just a little more. The chestnut-haired man stood up, annoying Kamiya. Don't you ever give up? Saizu asked, annoyed. I could go on all day, Issei said, seeing that his HP was 50. At that moment, he felt an increase in his strength and dexterity, looking at those two sections. STR, 2464. Dex 1747. Feeling stronger and faster than before. It's time to end this, Issei said, feeling the power within him. Saizu attacked again, but he didn't expect Issei to dodge and… Pam. A strong right hook impacted his cheek, causing him so much pain that he felt his head almost flipped over from the blow. The thug backed away, giving Issei the opportunity to counterattack. With greater speed than before, he closed the distance against Saizu and began his counterattack. A hook to the liver, then a high hook, another right hook and finally, a powerful left straight that knocked Saizu's face all messed up backwards. Finally, this is over, said Issei, very tired, as he looked at the guys lying on the ground and decided to leave. He didn't want anything to do with those idiots. Random mission completed and that was a good thing. You've leveled up, and that was even better. I recommend you buy healing items to recover your HP, Alexia told him as he headed towards his job. Right, I forgot I had that option, the brunette said, and when he took the bus to work, he sat down in one of the seats to look at the store. He gave a filter to let him see healing objects and looked at several. Potion, Final Fantasy series, restores 50 HP price 50G. Green Grass, Resident Evil series, restores 50 HP price 50G. Super Potion, Final Fantasy series, restores 600 HP price 600G. And so several healing items from different series he's seen, although one caught his attention more and apparently didn't belong to a series as such. Phoenix Tears restores all HP, MP, and removes adverse statuses price 10,000G. But he put that aside and bought 4 potions. He reached into his backpack to take out one of the potions. It was a glass bottle similar to a 12-ounce Coca-Cola and it contained a red liquid. She uncorked the bottle and drank it. It tasted like strawberries. He did the same with the other 3, and his HP was at 300 since it was restored to 100 when he went to take the bus. He'll check on his condition tomorrow. For now, he wants to finish his workday and go home. Tomorrow will be another day. Bring a little more power and discovery. The next day. The day has passed since Izu's incident, and the chestnut-haired man was feeling better, although the negative effects of his new ability were very annoying. He had to go to sleep early and take some pain pills. He was now walking towards the academy while looking at his condition. Name Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 5 and 100 500 sex. HP 11 10 11 10, 20 HP 1 minute. MP 260 260s, 5 MP 1 minute. AP 20. P 1200. STR 32. DIT 36. X 23. INT 49. WIS 29. JOT 21. Luck 29. Wow, so much life, although I'm low on MP, he thought, looking at the 260 MP he had. Isn't there any way to increase my MP? He asked Alexia. Well, there is one, but it's not as simple as you think, she said. What do you mean? Issei asked, somewhat confused. Well, MP works based on your WIS, and for every 10 points of WIS, your MP increases by 25 points, she explained, and Issei understood. But you could use your MP to increase it slightly. The more you use it, the more it can increase, she said, and Issei became interested in that. Like in Final Fantasy II? He asked, remembering the legendary game, but in its Game Boy Advance version. Exactly, although it's complicated, since without enemies to fight, it won't be able to increase constantly, it will only increase a little if you spend it without killing enemies, Alexia said, and Issei understood. So I have to kill mobs for my MP to grow, I understand, Issei said, more or less understanding what he said. By the way, you still haven't seen your rewards for yesterday's mission, Alexia said, reminding Issei of the reward. That's right, I was so tired I barely remembered that, said the chestnut-haired man, recalling the previous day's mission. He opened the inventory tab and there he found the following. Potion, Minor, X1. Lottery ticket X1. Shop discount ticket, 15% X1. He chose the lottery ticket and a green ticket appeared in his hand with a drawing of a roulette wheel. What do I do now? Issei asked, holding up the ticket. You just have to break it and the roulette will automatically activate, Alexia said, and Issei did as she asked. He tore up a ticket and it dissolved into particles of light. He was grateful that no one was watching or he would be in trouble. Then a pop-up tab suddenly appeared, similar to those annoying virus pages in Chrome. It was white and in the center it had a roulette wheel with different colors. Gray, green, red, purple, orange, light blue, and gold. The roulette wheel had 3 prices. Normal 1000G. Special 3000G. Premium 10,000G. Apparently the ticket was for the regular one and it started spinning rapidly. This will take a while, so you'd better go to class, Alexia told him, and he continued on his way. The chestnut-haired man arrived at the academy. He arrived early because he went to bed early and didn't clean the house since it was already clean. He went straight to his classroom, not noticing that someone was watching him on the stairs. His power has increased a little more, interesting, Rias thought, looking at the brunette intently. Rias? Called a beautiful black-haired woman with a ponytail and a great figure, Akeno Himejima, Ria's second older sister and friend. What's wrong? She asked, looking at her. Oh, it's nothing, let's go to the living room, Rias said, giving one last look to the brunette who turned a corner. Room 2B. Issei entered the classroom, only to notice everyone staring at him. This is strange because they usually ignore him and even belittle him, so receiving this attention made him uncomfortable. Just then, her savior approached. Ice, what does this mean? Aika asked, approaching with a frown and showing her cell phone to the brunette. Issei looked at her confused. It wasn't until he saw her cell phone that he understood everything. It was a video of him fighting Saizu and his companions, taken from a location near the site of the incident. He was really surprised. He didn't expect someone to record him and start spreading it around. Plus, the video title was awful. "Pervert kicks the ass of thugs." That title annoyed him a little. "Well?" Ika asked, waiting for an answer. What do you want me to say that you haven't seen in the video?" Issei asked, looking directly into the brunette's beautiful golden eyes, who frowned. "I don't know, maybe you knew how to fight and you didn't tell me," she said, crossing her arms and highlighting her not-so-small breasts. I don't want to talk about it, although I'll just say that I didn't fight because I detest violence, nothing more," and with that she went to sit down under the gaze and murmurs of everyone. Ugh, this day is going to be long, he thought, annoyed at being the center of everyone's attention. Ika saw that and was worried. She would talk to him later. Classes continued normally until lunchtime, at which point the brunette quickly escaped from his classroom when he saw that they wanted to approach to ask about what had happened. Issei arrived at the usual place, but he didn't find Kotonoha. She's usually the one who arrives first. Maybe he was running late, she whispered as she went to sit on one of the benches. He sat down to wait, but after 15 minutes he decided to have lunch alone. I was having lunch peacefully when the rooftop door was opened. Issei looked around hoping it was Kotonoha, but no, it was someone he never expected to see. "Oh, there was someone here," said Rias Gremory, who had come up to the rooftop for lunch. You're right," she said, and she wasn't alone, as Akeno Himejima was with her. Both with their lunches. Issei was staring at the static, he didn't expect to see two of the most beautiful girls in the academy there, he expected anything, even Saizu and his cronies seeking revenge, but not that. "We're not bothering you, are we?" Rias asked, pulling the brunette out of his shock. No, nothing's wrong," he said nervously, bringing a smile to both girls' faces. "Yufufufu, don't get so nervous, we're not going to bite you, you know," Akeno said with some amusement, making Issei blush a little. "Come on Akeno, don't bother him," Rias admonished, making her friend smile even more. Both of them took seats that were one bench away from the chestnut-haired man who was nervous. After using Observe on Rias, I use it on Akeno. Name Akeno Himejima. Age 18 years old. Level. Title Second Beauty of Kuo Academy, Yamato Nadeshiko, Vice President of the CIO. He received the same result as with Rias. "Ice, you need to calm down," Alexia told him, sensing his nervousness. "How do you want me to do it? They're two of the most popular girls in the academy, and besides, I don't usually get that close to a girl other than Ika or Kotonoha," the brunette said, making her sigh. "But you should still calm down, it's not like they're going to talk to you or anything, so just ignore them," Alexia told him, and the brunette had no choice but to agree. She let out a sigh and decided to continue with her lunch. They were talking about things she couldn't hear, but she didn't care. She decided to continue with her lunch. "Then it's him," Akeno whispered to the retreat while glancing at the brunette. "Yes, suddenly his power changed compared to when I first saw him, he is stronger than an average human, and that's without me having sensed any sacred gear inside him," Rias said, surprising her. Akeno looked at Issei in surprise. "Really? Could it be that you're mistaken and that change in her power is due to a sacred gear?" the dark-haired girl asked her friend. "I'm sure he's not a sacred gear wielder probably," Rias said, still unsure of her thoughts. So what? Are you planning to add him to your entourage?" he asked Rias, who paused for a few seconds before answering. "If his power increases again, then maybe, although he's still interesting and could be a good ally without being part of my entourage," Rias said, since if Issei displayed any kind of power, he could be either part of her entourage or an ally under the wing of her clan. Both options were good. "Well, that's your decision. I'll support you as a friend and as your queen," Akeno said with a kind smile. Very few people know this, but Rias Gremory is a demon, yes, one of those that appear in the Bible and other occult writings. Demons exist alongside all other supernatural beings, whether they are monsters, yokai, gods, and so on. They all exist and are very different from how stories portray them. Rias belongs, as her surname indicates, to the Gremory house, one of the 72 demons of King Solomon, which in this case are divided into clans, with her being the next heir, that is, a princess. She has an entourage, all of whom are members of the occult club, but that doesn't matter for the moment. The two continued talking while Issei stared at the discount receipt for the store. He went into his status to see how much G he had, and seeing that he had 1200, he decided to see what he could buy. "Alexia, could you find any skills or interesting things in the store that don't exceed my budget?" Issei asked his partner. "Sure, wait a moment," she said, starting her search. "Okay, I found some that might interest you and cost less than 1000 G, she said, and Issei nodded. He looked at the list to see what he could get. Multitasking mind, 1000 G. Hockey, 300 G. Magic circuits, 300G. Reinforcement magic, 400G. Takra network, 300G. Hayden Enden, 200G. Futen Renkuden, 200G. Oden Doryaheki, 200G. Suitan Suhineki, 200G. Raiden Hibashi, 250G. Page Bunshin no Jutsu, 500G. Spell Fire, 250G. Spell Blizzard, 250G. Spell Thunder, 250G. Spell Arrow, 300G. Spell Haste, 500G. 100 Needles, 500G. Ryoku, 500G. B the Explode, 1000G. F the Fear, 1000G. H the Heat, 1000G. D the Thunder, 1000G. Aura, 300G. Selfie Telekinesis, 700G. Selfie Kindred Link, 700G. Selfie Polarity, 700G. Selfie Burn, 700G. Selfie Freeze, 700G. Selfie Man's Lease, 700G. Selfie Glyphs, 700G. Selfie Telepathy, 700G. Baster Blaster, 750G. Karmica Retribution, 800G. Nutrients, 300G. Mega Nutrients, 600G. Revenge, 400G. Fire Punch, 300G. Ice Punch, 300G. Flamethrower, 500G. Zeus Fury, 900G. Poseidon Wrath, 800G. And so the list continued with several things that he recognized and that might be useful to him, but the most useful ones were the most expensive, and he could only buy one, even using the discount it would barely be enough for a magic spell. I had to make a wise choice since I didn't know when I would be able to get money again. Well, there are some good things in the store. I'm interested in the Sternritter letters, but I'd run out of money quickly. I could buy Fate's Magic Circle, but I could also buy either Chakra or Ryoku. But there were also the Geister Blasters of the coolest skeleton of all, and there were also good RWBY semblance items there, and Kratos magic. Damn, I don't know which one to choose, Issei thought, frustrated at not knowing what to choose. If I may offer my opinion, I think the most viable option for now is something that will make things easier for you in hand-to-hand combat, Alexius said, and Issei agreed. He was a physical fighter. But it wouldn't hurt to learn magic, so I have two options for you. You can buy hockey for close combat, and you can buy magic circuits for an increase in your MP and better magic control, she said, and Issei agreed. Well, I've made up my mind, she thought as she chose what she would buy. Purchase completed. Your purchases were left at your counter, and with that he left the store to see that the two girls were looking at him strangely. Hey, is something wrong? The brunette asked the two of them. You seem to be out of it for a few minutes, are you okay? Rias asked the brunette. Oh, haha, sorry about that, it happens to me sometimes, it's nothing bad, Issei said nervously, as this system was capturing his attention too much, making him completely forget about his surroundings. Are you really okay? Rias asked, looking at the brunette. Yes, I'm fine, haha, Issei said, calming down. Praise be to the gamer mind, he thought with relief. Well, if you say so, Rias said, dropping the subject. By the way, I have a question, Akeno said, looking at Issei. Are those rumors about you true? She asked. Issei sighed heavily and frowned. They're just that, rumors, Issei said, annoyed at how his reputation had plummeted because of that group of idiots. The two of them looked at that and realized it was all a lie. So Rias wanted to talk about something, but she couldn't think of anything to talk about. Do you usually come here very often? Akeno asked the chestnut-haired man. Yes, this is one of the few places where you can be at peace, Issei said calmly. True, we usually eat in the club building, but there are times when it's nice to change locations, Rias said with a smile. Issei nodded but said nothing. He didn't know what to talk about either. At that moment, the entrance to the rooftop was abruptly opened by someone. Ah, Haidu-kun, I'm sorry I'm late, Kotonoha said, breathless from running so much, but then she noticed Rias and Akeno. Good afternoon, she greeted them, and they both nodded. Good afternoon, said the two senpais. Kotonoha approached Issei and bowed slightly. Excuse me, it's just that today they elected the class representatives and they ended up choosing me, Kotonoha said apologetically. No problem, although you're right, it seems they did that, he said, not noticing because he wasn't interested in the slightest. I was going to bring a friend of mine to introduce you to, but she went somewhere else with her friends, he added, though he left Aika behind, all because he wanted to avoid being bothered about the video. Oh, what a shame, but there will be another time for that, said Kotonoha, taking a seat next to Issei. Rias and Akeno watched the interaction between the two. Kotonoha took a thermos out of her bag along with a plastic container. I prepared these with mom's help, she said, opening the lid of the container to reveal some sandwiches and offering them to Issei with a sweet smile. Here, take some, she said. Issei looked at the sandwiches and took one, looked at it and used observation. Almond sandwich, low. Tuna sandwich, mayonnaise, lettuce and tomato, taste so-so. He was surprised by the description. Apparently, she was a novice at preparing anything, but simply because she did it and offered it to him, he liked it a lot. Issei put the sandwich in his mouth and felt that although it didn't taste that good, it wasn't bad either. It was as the description said, more or less. How are you? It's my first time doing them, Konoha said shyly. It's good for your first time, Issei said, and she seemed a little happy. She hadn't tasted Issei's food before and it was something even his mother would struggle to achieve. Rias and Akeno decided to continue with their own thing, but then Akeno remembered something and looked at Issei. By the way, sorry to interrupt, but this is you, right? She asked, showing the video of Issei beating up Saizu's group. Ah, yes, it's me, Issei said, sighing dejectedly. Now he knew that everyone would find out about it. I saw it too, it was amazing, you took them down all by yourself, Rias praised, since for a human, that was amazing. That's right, I heard the Kamiya boy was a black belt in karate, Akeno added. Yes, but he was very arrogant, said Issei, finishing the sandwich he was given. Are you okay? Konoha asked worriedly. She too had seen the video online and was concerned about how they were leaving Issei. Yes, although my body ached a little, but I'm fine, Issei said with a smile. 20 rep with Konoha, 15 rep with Rias, 10 rep with Akeno. Hajime that surprised him. He didn't understand the reason for that reputation with both girls. He understood it with Konoha, but with the two popular girls. You know what? In my opinion, those things they say about you are lies. I mean, ever since the rumor started that you were a pervert and that you were spying on girls, it just stayed that way. Sure, people said you were the worst and all that, but seeing you up close, you're a quiet person who doesn't like to bother anyone, Rias commented, looking at the brunette who looked directly into her beautiful blue eyes. Rias is right, in my opinion you're a good boy, Akeno said with a slight smile. Well, not everyone thinks that way. To them, I'm either the weirdo in the class or the worst pervert that ever existed, Issei said calmly. I don't think you're a pervert, you're a kind and good person, Konoha said, smiling. Issei smiled at what was said. But why don't you deny those things they're saying about you? Rias asked, confused. It's not worth it. People tend to label someone with anything, regardless of whether it's true or false. As long as I know I'm not what they say, I'm fine. It's not worth proving anything to people who aren't worth it, Issei said, surprising the two girls with his words. Wow, you're more mature than you seem, Akeno said, surprised. Sometimes people tell me that, said the brunette, not paying much attention to it. 10 rep with Konoha, 10 rep with Rias, 5 rep with Akeno, I'll leave that aside. In the end they ended up chatting about anything and everything. Issei was surprised by his luck. He was able to talk normally with two of the most beautiful girls in the academy. Then they went to their classrooms, with Rias and Akeno thinking that Issei had a lot of potential to be part of Rias' entourage. Classes continued and ended, the chestnut-haired man quickly said goodbye to Aika and went to work. After finishing his workday, he returned home when Thing you have obtained virus prototype, your prize has been sent to the inventory. Upon hearing that, he remained static. Virus prototype, that sounds familiar, he said to himself. Well, you'd better take a look and maybe it'll refresh your memory, said Alexia, and Issei obeyed. Issei quickly checked the inventory and looked at the things he had. Hockey. Aura. Semblance burn. Virus prototype. Seeing that the icon for each item was a kind of sphere and that they were different colors. The hockey and the aura were green, the semblance was red, and the virus was purple. He clicked on the virus to see its description. Prototype virus, Epic, owner Albert Wesker, Resident Evil series. Experimental strain of the progenitor virus used by Albert Wesker to enhance his body and fake his death. Benefits. 100 VIT, 100 STR, 150 dex side effect. Mutation. It is recommended to administer PG67AW serum daily. Issei realized the benefit was significant. With that strength and speed, he would be just as powerful as Albert Wesker, although he would have to inject himself with that serum daily to prevent him from going out of control or mutating into a monster. It's so difficult to have something so cool, I'd better leave it for now until I find something that can keep it under control, Issei said, looking at the rest of his purchases. Aki, rare, 1 piece. The power of will itself manifested physically. Divided into 3 types. Gyuzashoku, armor, Kenbun-shoku, vision, and Hashoku, conqueror's haki, the latter being the rarest. Benefit. 10 STR, 10 dex. Aura, rare, RWBY. Manifestation of one soul. The more powerful the soul, the stronger the aura. Benefits. Aura shield over the body, resistance to climate change, 20 STR, 10 VIT, 10 dex. Appearance burn, very rare, owners. Yang Xiaolong RWBY. Specializes in absorbing energy from received damage and redirecting it back at the opponent with twice the force, making the user stronger with each hit received. Can conserve energy for later use in an even more devastating attack. Benefit. In burn state, 10 STR and dex for every -10 HP of damage received. Secondary effect. Fatigue state, 1 hour, hunger state. Well, at least they're not as bad as the prototype virus, said the brunette. Now what do I do? He asked Alexia. Just use them and that's it, they'll integrate into your body, she said, and Issei obeyed. Issei took out the spheres and placed them on a table. The spheres were transparent, but with their respective colors. Issei took the aura and did what came to mind, he squeezed it and it burst to disperse into particles of light which entered his body. He felt a strange sensation, something warm that came from within his being. Aura installation complete, new ability acquired. Aura. Issei heard that, but he would see it later. He did the same with the other two spheres, which experienced the same thing as the aura sphere. Installation of Hockey and Burn complete, new skills acquired. Hockey, Burn, and so I finished installing those two. He quickly went to the skills tab to see his new abilities. Skills. Player Mind LVL Max. Allows the user to think things through calmly and logically. Enables a calm state of mind. Immunity to mental disorders. Player Body LVL Max. Grants a body that allows the user to experience the real world as a game. Sleeping in a bed restores HP, MP, and all adverse effects. Master Chef, Medium, Passive Rare, Level 15, 35% exp, you are skilled in the culinary arts, better than anyone your age. All your food is of high quality, and you could easily pass for a culinary prodigy. Benefit. 50% learning of culinary recipes, 20% reputation with a chef when you give them your food, 35% cooking dexterity, 30% your food tastes better. Observe passive active, level 5, 25% exp. Through continuous observation, an ability to observe objects, situations, and people was generated, allowing the user to gather information quickly. The higher the ability, the more data is obtained. Boxing, medium, passive active, level 18, 9% exp. You are a skilled boxer trained to fight in amateur bouts. Benefit. Increases STR by 18%, increases dex by 15%. Until collapse passive, level 1, 50% exp. No matter how much it hurts or how much it costs, you will win even on the verge of collapse. Benefits. Increases STR by 40 and dex by 30 when you enter the red zone of 10% HP. Side effects. Extreme fatigue, muscle pain effect for half a day. Aki passive active, LVL1, 0% exp. A mysterious power that allows the user to utilize their own spiritual energy for various purposes. Yuzu Shoku Haki active, LVL1, 0% exp. A form of Haki that allows the user to use their own spiritual energy to essentially create an invisible armor around themselves, providing incredible offensive and defensive capabilities. Current limit arms. 10 STR. Enbin Shoku Haki active, LVL1, 0% exp. A form of Haki that grants the user a sixth sense, allowing them to sense the presence, strength, and emotions of others, as well as acquire limited precognitive abilities. Current limit slightly sense the presence of people. 10 dex. Ayushoku Haki active requires level 50 in Haki. Semblance Burn active, level 1, 0% exp. Absorbs energy from the damage received by the user and redirects it with double the power to the opponent, in addition to being able to save energy for a devastating attack. 10 STR and 10 dex for every 10 HP of damage received. Causes fatigue status, 1 hour after its use. Well, I have good skills for the moment, now it's time to distribute the points I have, he said, entering the status window and distributing the 20 AP he had after leveling up 2 times. And that's how it remained. Name Haidu Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 5 and 100 500 sex. HP 1460 40 HP 1 minute. MP 290 290s, 5 MP 1 minute. AP 0. G5. STR 62. Bit 46. X 43. Int 49. Was 40. Ta 30. Luck 29. Well, for my second day as a gamer, I'm pretty high, he said to himself, looking at his condition. For an ordinary human, said Alexia. Does that mean there are more like me? Issei asked, confused. No, your ability is unique, but that doesn't mean there aren't special people out there, she told him, and the brunette became serious. Then this world isn't normal, the brunette said, quickly deducing that. Raising Whis helps a lot. Indeed, supernatural beings exist in this world, she told him, leaving him surprised. Supernatural beings, he said to himself, but then he calmed down. If he had a broken ability like the system, what prevents supernatural beings from existing? Let me explain what I've come to understand about this world, she said, and Issei listened attentively. And so she began to tell him about the supernatural world, as much as she had ever investigated. This would open the brunette's eyes and make him start taking things a little more seriously. For a boring day and an encounter. The next day. It was another day in Kuo City, and walking towards the academy was a calm Issei. He was walking calmly, or at least that's what he wanted. Look, that's the boy from the video, a girl murmured to her friends. Isn't that the famous pervert from Kuo Academy? Another girl asked. He single-handedly beat that guy Saizu. They said he was the most dangerous criminal in the area, a boy said to his friend. It's surprising how a pervert managed to beat those guys, another one said. Yes, even 2 days after the incident, the video has apparently already spread throughout much of Kuo, filling it with unwanted attention. They're so annoying, Issei complained mentally. Just ignore them, Ice, don't let their comments affect you, Alexia told him, and the brunette was grateful to have her on his side. Good morning, Ika greeted, arriving where her friend was. How are you? She asked, standing next to the brunette. Everything's fine, everything's alright if it weren't for all those people whispering about me, Issei said, feeling annoyed as he saw several people looking at him and then whispering. Ika noticed that and sighed. Ignore them, they're just idiots, Ika said, looking at Issei. By the way, you didn't take me to meet that friend of yours, you left me stranded and I had to go with Kaori and Mai, she said with a frown. Yes, forgive me for that, but I had to leave the room before they came to bother me, Issei said, and she understood. Don't worry, we can go today, she said, smiling at him. Of course, Katsura would also like to meet you, Issei said, smiling slightly. The two walked towards the academy while chatting, all seen by the students who thought that they understood each other as perverts. They passed the entrance, where Issei noticed Sauna, who was still at her job as student council president. Although he didn't look at her for that reason. Name, Sauna Shitori. Age 18 years old. Level. Those question marks that Rias, Akeno, Tsubaki, and a few other people in the institution had. That worried him ever since Alexia told him about the supernatural world. Those signs only suggested that they were at higher levels than him, but the problem is that there are few humans who could be at a higher level than him. After their conversation about the supernatural world, she understood something. They weren't human, and that worried her, lest they try to harm her if they discovered her ability. He does not rule out the possibility of humans with a high level of ability, but these must belong to the supernatural world, no matter what. Anyway, you'll have to look into that later. Thus began the first term of classes. With Issei still being the focus of attention for several people still interested in what he did 2 days ago. Something that irritated the chestnut-haired man. Lunchtime. Lunchtime had arrived, and this time Issei came accompanied by Aika so he could meet Kotonoha. Issei opened the rooftop door, letting Aika go in first, which she liked. 20 reputation with Aika, and that only raised his reputation with her achievement seen with other eyes. Gain 100 reputation points with a girl reward skill, Lavamania, 200 exp, 1000 G, and that really surprised him. Achievements? There are achievements too? Issei asked. Yes, what's a modern game without achievements? So, secret achievements have been implemented that you'll get after completing certain requirements, Alexia said, and Issei was just surprised. Issei quickly looked at his new ability. Love Mania LVL Max Unlucky in Love. Does she not love you? Well, look no further, this is for you. Now you're attractive to girls who take the time to get to know you well, without having to fall into the dreaded friend zone. 20% cha for each level gained, 20% reputation with every girl you interact with. He was surprised by such a skill he received. He didn't expect that liking Aika would open the doors to getting a good girlfriend. But he put that aside, focusing instead on what was coming next. There, sitting on the same bench as always, was Kotonoha with a rather large bento box and a thermos. Apparently, she cooked something else today. Hello Haidu-kun, and I see you brought your friend, nice to meet you, Kotonoha said, bowing slightly. Nice to meet you too, I'm Kiryu Aika, I'm a friend of this idiot here, I hope we get along well, Aika said, smiling at Kotonoha. I'm Katsura Kotonoha, I hope we get along well too, Kotonoha said, smiling happily at meeting someone nice. It was only a matter of time before the two gained each other's trust, since Aika seems to have a knack for socializing with other people, something that Issei lacks. Kotonoha shared the sandwiches she made, and this time they turned out better than the day before. Almond sandwich, medium. Mortadella sandwich with ketchup, mayonnaise, tomato, and lettuce, common flavor. 10 HP recovery. Issei was surprised, and to think that yesterday it was something he knew more or less, Kotonoha was surpassing herself. Then she gave them some lemonade that she had prepared herself. It tasted good and he liked it, especially Issei, who has a certain fondness for the citrus flavor of fruit. The three of them talked and talked, although Aika was the one who talked the most since she wanted to get to know Konoha better. This continued until the start of the last round of classes. 10 reputation with Konoha, 10 reputation with Aika, and his reputation with both girls only went up more. Some time later. Classes had already ended and now Issei was watching the sunset on the bridge near the academy. The day I didn't have work because they were doing maintenance at the restaurant, so I had the afternoon free and nothing to do, the disadvantages of not having male friends. How boring, he whispered, resting his head on his arms as he leaned against the bridge railing. You could go looking for a dungeon, Alexia told him, confusing him. The dungeon? He asked, confused. Yes, a dungeon is a special place or dimension separate from this one, where you'll find monsters or enemies to level up, she said. Wow, that does interest me, huh? Why are you telling me now? I could go look for a dungeon to level up, Issei said to his companion. Well, we only started a few days ago, so I was still receiving data from the central source, that's why I only just got access to information about the dungeons, she replied, and Issei understood. He had only received this system about 3 days ago. Well, never mind, let's find a dungeon that's at my level, Issei said, pulling himself together to go look for a dungeon, but he hadn't taken a step when he asked, how do I find a dungeon? He didn't know how. Well, that's the problem, the dungeons are scattered all over the city, but you have to find them, Alexia said, and Issei sighed. Damn it all, and I thought I could level up, I feel cheated, he thought, disappointed. I'm sorry, Alexia apologized, sounding sad. You don't have to apologize, you're not to blame for anything. In fact, I'm grateful you told me about the dungeons. Now I know I'll find somewhere to train and level up, Issei said to his partner. 15 reputation with Alexia, apparently she liked that he didn't blame her. Anyway, let's go back and explore for a while, said the chestnut-haired man, preparing to leave, but something, or rather someone, interrupted him. Excuse me, are you Haidu Issei-kun? A girl asked, surprising the brunette. She is beautiful, with long black hair, bright violet eyes, and fair skin, plus she has a body that would rival Rias or Konoha's. But he found it strange that she suddenly spoke to him like that. Yes, this is me, what do you need me for? He asked somewhat cautiously, as it seemed very strange to him that a beautiful girl would approach him like that out of nowhere. Although it seemed familiar, he couldn't remember from where. I don't know if you remember me, but you helped me a few months ago when some boys were harassing me downtown, she said, confusing Issei. He started to remember something about it and after a few seconds he remembered and looked at her in surprise. I remember now, you're that pretty girl who was being bothered by that group of idiots, he said, remembering her. That happened 4 months ago, to be exact. He was doing the weekly grocery shopping and on his way home, he saw a group of dyed-hair idiots bothering the dark-haired woman with that whole, going out with them to have fun thing. He remembers her getting annoyed with them and then he had to intervene since the people watching weren't doing anything. She beat the crap out of those guys and then said goodbye because she was hungry and tired. She smiled at that and nodded. Yes, I've been grateful to you ever since. Nobody wanted to help me, but you went and beat those guys up, she said with a smile. Yeah, well, I couldn't let some idiots get away with it. I don't even want to think about what would have happened to you if I hadn't intervened, Issei said, adding that it was because of jerks like that grapes and other serious crimes occurred. But anyway, what did you need me for? The brunette asked, confused. Yes, well, I wanted to know if we could, I don't know, go on a date. She asked, looking embarrassed. Issei was shocked. He hadn't expected a beautiful girl to ask him out on a date, though perhaps it was to thank him for helping her on that occasion. Well, that's fine by me, Issei replied, and she was pleased. Great, let's exchange numbers so we can stay in touch. She said cheerfully as she took out her phone. Sure, that's fine, Issei said, taking out his phone. So the two exchanged numbers and became friends on Facebook. By the way, you know my name, but I don't know yours, Issei said, and when she realized that detail, she felt embarrassed. Sorry, I was just a little nervous, she apologized, then smiled. My name is Amano Yuma, nice to meet you, introduced the woman now known as Yuma. Well, nice to meet you, Amano-san, Issei said, smiling. Then reputation with Yuma Amano, the name in quotation marks made him nervous, but he didn't show it. Okay, then that's settled. I have to go to work, we'll be in touch about our date, Issei said, smiling, and she nodded. Sure, I'll let you know the day and time, she said, smiling. So the two of them left the place and went to different locations. Issei went straight home because he had things to talk about with Alexia. With Yuma. She went a different way than Issei. She walked to an alley where she went through a purple magic circle. She transported herself to another location, a 2-story house in the upper part of Kuo. She came out of an alley next to the house and then went inside, where she was greeted by another girl. "You're back, and from your expression I can see that you did well," said a girl who looked like Yuma but was a little older and more voluptuous. Appearance, only with normal clothes. "Nisama," he accepted, "he agreed to go on a date with me," Yuma said, very happy about what happened in her meeting with Issei. "Oh, good for you, at least one of you knows how to choose a good boy," said the girl who is Yuma's older sister with a sour face. Yuma felt bad for her sister. She's had trouble choosing boys. Everyone she's been with only wants one thing, and that's been getting on her nerves. "Anyway, we have to be vigilant. I recently received a message from Azazel-sama. Apparently, the traders have been more active lately, so we have to be more careful," the girl said seriously. Yuma nodded. They would have to get serious from now on. "By the way, what about the girls?" Yuma asked, noticing the absence of two of her companions. "They went for a walk on the east side of the city, we have to go to the west side," the girl said, and Yuma nodded. "Okay, let's go then," said Yuma, and his sister nodded. Things were hectic in the city. Moments later, Haidu residence. Issei arrived home and went straight to his room to lock himself in. "Alexia, could she be hiding something too?" Issei asked worriedly, not even having time to look at the girl. "Yes, when an individual's name is in quotation marks, it's simply an alias, and they, along with Sauna Shitori, have aliases," Alexia said, making Issei even more worried. "Could it be another supernatural being?" he asked, somewhat nervously. Lately, he'd been afraid that some demon, fallen angel, or other supernatural being might want to harm him. "Don't worry, Ice-kun, the system has an alarm for when the host, that is, you, is in imminent danger, you just have to be more attentive to anything," said Alexia, making Issei feel a little better. "That's something that puts me at ease," Issei said as he threw himself face down on his bed, looking to the left at a photograph on the nightstand. It was a photograph of his parents and him 6 years ago, on his 14th birthday. They were so happy back then. "Mom, Dad, please take care of me," he said, then took a short nap. The day was a somewhat boring day, but with an interesting ending. 5 planes. 2 days later. 2 days have passed since the meeting between Yuma and Issei. Nothing interesting has happened in Issei's life. It's the same old routine. He gets up to clean his house, makes lunch, goes to the academy on time, has lunch with Kotonoha, now with Aika included, finishes his classes, goes to work, and then goes home to finish his homework before going to sleep. No missions, no way to level up, even at level 5. However, if anything has changed, it's that she's been texting Yuma and seeing him after school. His reputation with her is currently 40. I also unlocked the following ability after exceeding 100 reputation points with Kotonoha. Lido active, LVL1, 0% exp. The art of rapid katana drawing, used by samurai. 10 dex when using a katana. Something that seemed strange to him at first, but he put it aside for the moment. He was now walking home from work. He was tired, as it had been a very busy afternoon. "I stopped by a store to buy things for my dinner. I took another route because there was a serious accident on one of the streets I usually take. A truck overturned, blocking the road. Now he was walking near a construction site which would be a new shopping center. When that happens. A dungeon has been detected 10 meters to the west, that message that suddenly appeared before his eyes made him stop. A dungeon? He thought in surprise. "Yes, they're the ones I told you about 2 days ago, a place where you could level up," Alexia said, and Issei remembered what she had told him before Yuma appeared. "Wow, and to think that one would be near a path parallel to the one I usually use," he thought, somewhat surprised. Well, a quick look wouldn't be bad, and so he deviated from his path. He followed the sign that appeared in front of his eyes, arriving at an alley between a clothing store and a coffee shop. The alley was dark, but it still said that the dungeon was 5 meters ahead. If things go wrong, hurry up, he thought nervously about entering a possible place of robberies. I walked nervously, illuminating my path with a small flashlight I had just in case. I walked until I reached the indicated place, which was the wall at the end of the alley, where I noticed a kind of distortion. And a message reached his eyes. Dungeon level 15. Type zombies. Level restriction requires level 10 to enter. Upon reading that, Issei could only sigh. That dungeon had a level restriction. Damn, and I thought I could level up. Well, at least I know where it is now, so I'd better go home before something happens, he said to himself, turning to leave the alley. He quickly left the alley and went home. He had to find a way to reach level 10 and be able to enter the dungeon. The next day. Another day had dawned. It was Friday. As usual, Issei arrived early at the academy and went to the classroom to wait for the start of classes. The whole thing with the video of him beating up Saizu and his group has become a thing of the past, although there were still some curious onlookers. Now, as they had become accustomed to, Issei, Aika, and Kotonoha were having lunch together. "Did you start working at Radish?" Issei asked, surprised. Yes, I need money for some things I want to buy, and Konoha told me that the radish store her mom oversees was hiring, so I started working part-time yesterday, Aika said calmly. Issei didn't expect that from her, since her family didn't suffer from a lack of money or anything like that, but it must be that what she wants to buy is expensive. Wow, that's amazing, congratulations Aika, Issei said, smiling, and the girl with glasses smiled back. Issei looked at Konoha and smiled at her. Thank you for getting her the job, you're great, Kitsura-san, Issei said, and she smiled slightly. 10 reputation with Aika, 10 reputation with Konoha, and that only raised his reputation with both of them a little more. It's nothing, my mom talks about work sometimes and well, she told me about it the day before yesterday, and since Aika-san needed a job, I just mentioned it to her, Konoha said with a slight smile. Even so, it's good by the way, this sandwich is good, and this lemon juice, I don't know how you make it, but it's delicious, said Issei, taking a sip of the lemon juice she gave him. 10 reputation with Konoha. I'm glad you like it, it's a recipe my grandmother used to make, if you want I can give it to you, Konoha said kindly. You'd be doing me a favor, Issei said, smiling. Hey, don't flirt with each other, I'm here too, Aika complained with a pout. Konoha blushed deeply, while Issei blushed slightly. Hey Aika-san, what are you saying? Konoha said sadly. Aika, please don't get things mixed up, Issei said, and Aika smiled amusedly. Haha, look at you, you're all red, haha she started making fun of them both. Issei sighed, though he smiled because of it. Moments like these brightened his day. Then they started chatting about anything and everything until lunchtime was over, without noticing that a strange bat was watching them the whole time. Some time later. Classes ended and the chestnut tree was on the bridge waiting for someone. Ice-kun, hello. Amano Yuma greeted, smiling happily as he approached the brunette, who smiled back. Amano-san, hello, Issei greeted, making her pout. I already told you to call me by my name, she complained, making Issei nervous. Well, it's just that I feel a little embarrassed, Issei said, ashamed. He wasn't one to get comfortable with someone so quickly, and she had already started calling him by his name on the second day of meeting him. Okay, but I want you to call me by my name when you feel ready, understood? She said, and Issei nodded. Of course, the chestnut-haired man affirmed, and she smiled contentedly. So the two walked together, since she had been guiding him near work for the past day. They chatted about anything and everything, how their day went, what they saw on TV last night, anything at all. But before she could separate from Issei, she stopped him by taking his hand. Amano-chan? Issei asked, confused by her actions. Ice-kun, I wanted to know if you'd like to go out with me this Sunday, she said, surprising the brunette. Going out on Sunday, on a date? He asked, blushing. This would be his first date. Yes, I want to go on a date with you, please, she pleaded with her eyes. When Issei looked into her eyes, he couldn't help but think that she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen, and he blushed because of it. Well, okay, he said, agreeing to the request. Yuma smiled happily that he accepted, so much so that he gave him a kiss on the cheek, making him blush bright red. Amano-chan. He exclaimed in surprise. Haha, see you on Sunday, I'll send you a message to arrange the time and place, see you later Ice-kun she said goodbye with a slight blush, leaving the stunned Issei watching her leave. 40 reputation with Yuma, and that only surprised him more upon reaching 100 reputation with Amano Yuma, you have obtained spears of light, and that shocked him even more. So she wasn't human, damn it, he thought nervously about the message of his newfound ability. You must be careful, Ice. You don't know what he has planned, so stay alert, Alexia told him, and Issei sighed. I need to level up, but how? He thought worriedly. Things were getting more and more complicated in a short time. He'd only been a gamer for a little over a week and a half, and his level was 5, too low to do anything against a supernatural being. I have to think of something, and soon, he told himself as he headed to work. And that's how his day ended. The next day Saturday. The day is Saturday and the chestnut-haired man was in his room, sitting on his bed, deep in thought. Last night Yuma told him the time and place to meet tomorrow for their date. While he was happy to be on a date with a beautiful girl, knowing that she is not human and may be in potential danger has him worried in many ways. He looked at the skill he received from Yuma upon reaching 100 reputation with her. Light Spear active, level 1, 0%. Spear created from holy or light energy, damaging to demons. 150% damage against demons, undead, or other beings of darkness, and inflicts poison status for 1 minute. 50 damage cost. 20 MP per minute. It was a good skill, one that would come in handy if he entered that zombie dungeon. But here's the problem. He's level 5, and the dungeon's level restriction is 10, meaning he won't be able to enter until he reaches level 10. My last option to win is Issei spoke and looked at the prototype virus in his inventory, but that thing has that adverse effect and that damn serum is expensive, he complained, looking at how much the serum he needed to avoid mutating cost. Serum PG67AW cost 500G. That serum is what it needs to avoid mutating. Damn Resident Evil and its crazy viruses, he complained, throwing himself onto his bed while staring at the ceiling. He couldn't find a way to level up easily and he had less than a day left to do something. I'd better go for a walk and see what I find, and with that, he left his house to take a walk around the city, hoping to clear his mind so he could find a solution. Some time later. And there he was, walking calmly through the city center. People were coming and going, vehicles were circulating on the streets, businesses were open, yep, everything was calm. Issei walked calmly through the streets of Kuo, hoping to find at least one random mission that would help him level up or get gold. I walked through the alley where the dungeon was and sighed, cursing the level restriction. He continued on his way. He walked for a few minutes until, passing in front of an arcade, he stopped. Well, playing for a while won't hurt anyone, he said, and went inside to distract himself. He went into the arcade, exchanged some money for tokens, and went to find a machine to play. The arcade was full of both girls and boys. He walked calmly, ignoring some who recognized him since they were students from Kuo Academy. I walked over to one of those classic machines where there was a game I was an expert at. Metal Slug. He inserted some chips and started playing. If there's one thing Issei had, it's that he was good at certain video games and the Metal Slug series is his favorite. This was Metal Slug 3, one of his favorites. Random mission created seeing that notification that suddenly appeared made him very happy, just like a pro, medium, beat Metal Slug 3 without dying once. Reward. 500 exp, 600G, 1 lottery ticket, normal. Failure. Absolutely none. Well, something is something, luckily I spent a lot of time playing Metal Slug to distract myself from what happened 2 years ago, Issei thought, looking at the start screen. He set the game to hard and chose Fio to start. While Issei was playing with intense focus, he didn't notice that several boys and girls began to gather around, looking at him in surprise. Issei passed the first mission without problems, then continued with the second, then the third and the fourth, all without dying once. 47 minutes had passed since it started, but the final mission, which was the longest of all, was still to come. After defeating Haydn, the final mission took place. To eliminate the Martians. Marco Rossi was his character when Fio was kidnapped, and thus began the space odyssey. All of Issei's spectators, joined by some officials, watched as the brunette, in the most professional way, managed to avoid death on numerous occasions. At 1 hour and 12 minutes, Issei finished the mission by taking down the Martian leader without losing the little tank. Whew, it's been so long since I put any effort into a game, he said to himself. Then he heard applause and felt several people lightly patting him on the back. Issei was surprised. He hadn't expected cheers for him, much less that they were watching him play. You've leveled up, he liked that little message. After a few minutes of congratulating them, everyone went back to their business, leaving the confused brunette there. Alexia, is it possible that if I start playing another game, I might get a mission? The brunette asked, intrigued. That depends on the difficulty of the game. Metal Slug falls into the difficult game category, so it would have to be a game that presents a challenge for you, and the system might see it as a mission, Alexia said, and Issei smiled. So I can even level up by playing video games. The brunette said, smiling. As I told you, games that prove difficult for ordinary players are the only ones that could help you gain experience once in a while, Alexia said, and Issei smiled. So a challenge, huh? He thought, looking at the other machines in the place. But then his stomach growled, so he went to a McDonald's near the arcade to get something to eat. He arrived at the restaurant and ordered a large hamburger, then left with his order to eat at a table near the window. While eating, he looked at his condition. Seeing his condition, he distributed the 10 points and put them in WIS. Now, having the following. Name Haidu Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 6 and 100 600 sex. HP 17 20 17 20, 40 HP 1 minute. MP, 330 330s, 6 MP 1 minute. AP 10. G 605. STR 66. Bit 52. X 46. Int 51. WIS 52. Ta 33. Luck 31. With that, he finished eating and went back to the arcade to see which game would be a challenge for him. Until he came across the House of the Dead 3, one he played a long time ago on Xbox, and so he went to check it out. As he approached the machine, he looked at the message. Random mission created just like a Pro 2, medium, beat the House of the Dead 3 in under an hour. Reward. 300 exp, 300 G, 1 ticket for 40% off in the shop failure. Absolutely nothing. Okay, let's get started, Issei said, putting some chips into the machine. Issei played the game, and after 55 minutes, he managed to finish it, thanking the system for giving him a very high skill level. Mission completed, that's what I wanted. He looked at his phone and saw that it was 2 PM, so he decided to play a little longer to see if he could reach level 10 to go to the dungeon. Of all the games that could put him in a tight spot, none were available. At this time the arcade gets crowded and he couldn't do anything more. Damn, and I thought I could reach level 10, he thought, annoyed. He left the arcade and went for a walk around the city to see what he could find. In the end he found nothing and went to sit on a bench in one of the parks near the center. Damn, how do I level up now? The brunette thought worriedly. Since discovering the supernatural world days ago, he hasn't been able to get the possibility of being hunted by any supernatural being out of his head. Ice, calm down, for now concentrate on what you want to do, you still have time, in fact, use the lottery ticket you have to get from there, Alexia told him, and Issei sighed to calm down. The player's mind took effect quickly. Now calmer, he looked at his inventory and took out the ticket. He tore up the ticket and the normal roulette wheel quickly appeared. Turning and turning, I knew this would take a while, so going straight to the point, I went to the store and quickly went to the PG67AW serum. Each serum cost 500, so with the 900 he had, he bought 2 and used the 40% discount so that the purchase of both cost him 600. He had 405 G left and looked at what he could buy. In the end he decided on the 250 fire spell, since with it he could do something. In the end he had 155 G left. But that purchased, I was hoping to at least have a backup plan in case I couldn't find a way to level up for the rest of the day. Alexia, how can I get virus prototype items? She asked, looking at the injection icon in her inventory. That's simple, you inject it and it takes time to install in you, it's like when you install a game on a PlayStation 4 or 5, you have to wait for it to install, Alexia said, and Issei sighed. Does it have any strange effects? I don't know, will it hurt? Issei asked. Something, he'll only have some muscle and eye pain, since the prototype virus affects the body and eyes of the person who has it more, Alexia said, and Issei understood. That's right, I read on the Resident Evil wiki that he can see everything around him in frames, Issei said, remembering that the color in Wesker's eyes wasn't just plastic. Yes, that's how Albert Wesker can move at such great speed with ease, Alexia told him. Issei was about to continue speaking when a notification suddenly arrived. Ding, you got one rare candy that left Issei speechless. Weirdo candy? Did the system think I look like a Pokemon or what? Issei thought, confused. What does it matter, it's a free level, Alexia said, and Issei agreed. He looked at the strange candy he took from his inventory. Rare candy, epic Pokemon, a strange candy with the ability to level up whoever eats it. That brief description of the candy wrapped in a blue and white wrapper was direct. Oh well, whatever, she said, taking the candy out of its wrapper and noticing its bright red color. She put it in her mouth and was surprised by the pleasant taste. Wow, it's strawberry, she said, and began to enjoy the candy as it slowly melted in her mouth. Ding, you've leveled up, and there was the notification I was looking for. He left the park to go somewhere else, hoping that at least his luck would give him a good mission. End 05. State. Name Haidu Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 70700 exp. HP 1980-1980, 44 HP 1 minute. MP, 355 355, 6 MP 1 minute. AP 10. D 105. STR 70. DIT 58. X 49. INT 54. WIS 54. TA 36. Luck 33. New ability. Light Spear active, level 1, 0%. Spear created from holy or light energy, damaging to demons, being 150% more effective against them or other beings of dark energy, and causing poison status for 1 minute. 50 damage cost. 20 MP per minute. First spell. Heir active Final Fantasy, LVL1, 0%. A black magic spell that inflicts fire elemental damage to one or all enemies. The amount of damage inflicted increases with the spell's level. 50 DMG cost. 10 MP. 6 deathmatch without knives. A few hours later. Night was falling, it was 6:45 PM, and Issei was overwhelmed. Although he was at level 7, he was 3 levels away from reaching level 10, but it was still no use when it was already very late and the day was about to end. Damn it, why is this happening to me? He thought, annoyed at the thought that Yuma, whatever he was, might do something to him on their date. He was heading home determined to use the prototype virus tomorrow. There was no other option. He just hoped to level up so he could get money and have a supply of that serum for at least a few weeks. Alexia, isn't there anything that can help prevent the prototype virus from mutating? Issei asked his partner. There is one, that would be the progenitor virus, Alexia said, and Issei sighed. Do I have to get another virus? He asked, annoyed. Well, yes, with the progenitor virus, which was used as the basis for the prototype virus, by stabilizing in your DNA, it could eliminate the effect of the mutation, making you a perfect carrier, Alexia said, and Issei understood. But there are risks, right? He asked, not everything seemed too good to be true. To be able to withstand the progenitor virus, you must have a genome highly compatible with it. For that, there should be the physiology of the high human, who would be the first humans that existed millennia ago, with the arrival of the gods to this world, Alexia explained, and Issei understood. How much does that physiology cost? Issei asked. 500,000 G, she replied, leaving the brunette wanting more. Damn, that's what it's like to be poor, he thought, annoyed. Although another physiology might work, they must be genes stronger than those of the common human, Alexia explained. Well, it doesn't matter, for the moment I already have a plan, and I already have the 2 doses of that serum, Issei said as he continued walking towards his house. I was walking calmly while thinking about how to do things, when something caught my attention. Why is there no one around? He asked, looking around at the fact that there was no one on the block, everything was silent. Damn it, that's all I needed, he said to himself, realizing he was in trouble. Then he looked as if emerging from an alley between 2 houses, a few meters away. A woman with black hair was crawling along, badly injured, with blood covering several parts of her body. Issei opened his eyes at that moment and felt a little nervous, but gamer mind calmed him down and made him pay more attention to what was happening. She caught sight of him and opened her eyes in surprise as she felt his power. Issei noticed the woman's face. She was beautiful, more so than an ordinary woman. Even though she didn't have a very voluptuous body, she looked like a magazine model. He noticed how she weakly stretched her arm towards him, looking with those beautiful purple eyes, giving him a look of despair. Please help, she pleaded pitifully. Then someone came out of the place where she had come out. He was a man in a black suit with dark blue hair, green eyes, and fair skin. He was handsome, unusually handsome, and exuded an intimidating and malevolent aura. Issei quickly used observation on both. Name Visor. Age 138 years. Race Demon. Level 22. 210 2470s, HP. 21,000s, MP. I honestly don't know what other appearance to give it. This is the closest to the original, but I'm open to suggestions for its appearance. Name Jericho. Age 186 years. Race Demon. Level 35. 1500-3500, HP. 701,300s, MP. Upon seeing their races, it was proven that I was in the presence of supernatural beings and that they are the cause of the street being desolate. And that made him very nervous. Jericho noticed it. Oh, it seems a brat managed to sneak through the barrier, Jericho said, looking at Issei. Visor was moving away from the subject, but he stepped on her back, hurting her even more. Hey, don't move, you damn bitch, I'm not finished with you yet, Jericho said irritably. Visor could only cough up blood when Jericho stepped on her. She was too weak to do anything. Well, brat, it seems you're not an ordinary human, but too bad, my master would have been pleased if I brought him a new guinea pig for his experiments, so say goodbye to this world, Jericho said, charging demonic energy in his right hand to launch a fireball at Issei. It was more by instinct than by will that Issei dodged a fireball that crashed into some trash cans, making them explode into pieces. Oh, you dodged it, haha, at least it won't be so boring killing you, Jericho said, turning his attention away from Visor to focus on Issei. Random mission created, do good and don't look at who, rare. A demon has appeared and is attacking someone of its kind, help the demon and take the opportunity to become stronger. Objective. Eliminate the demon Jericho and save Visor reward. 1500 exp, 2000 G, 1 ticket of 50% discount for the shop, 100 reputation with Visor failure. Death, and now a new mission was born. Damn, their level's higher than me, Issei thought nervously. Ice, calm down, they may be of a higher level than you, but remember something, demons are divided by rank, and some can be just as weak as an ordinary human, no matter how high their levels place them, Alexia told him seriously. But aren't his stats higher than mine? Issei asked, without taking his eyes off the demon. Maybe so, but they might be slightly better than yours, so concentrate and fight, Ice, Alexia told him. It's easy to say, but I'll try, I don't want to die, Issei said, focusing on his enemy. That's a nice look you have, I hope you know how to entertain me, brat, Jericho said, creating another fireball to attack Issei. The chestnut-haired man quickly dodged a fireball, but another one intercepted him and hit him, damaging him considerably. Minus 250 HP negative state burn. Minus 5 HP per second, active effect 20 seconds. Damn, this hurts, Issei thought, feeling the burning sensation on his skin that was somewhat relieved by his aura. You survived, what a surprise. You turned out to be quite interesting. I want to see how much you can endure, to see if you're worth taking to my master, Jericho said, smiling sadistically. Issei looked annoyed. He wouldn't let that bastard beat him. He became annoyed and his eyes changed to crimson red. Burn activated 12-0 STR and Dex his semblance activated, and thus the battle began. Issei ran towards Jericho to close the distance, but the demon was faster and struck Issei in the abdomen. Minus 200 HP. That blow really hurt him. Issei spat out some blood mixed with saliva. Burn absorbed the blow and now had 100 more points in STR and Dex. STR, 290. Dex 269. Even so, he felt the blow. Issei retreated faster than before, surprising the demon who noticed a slight yellowish glow on Issei's hair. Interesting, you have an ability that makes you stronger, I imagine it works with the damage you're taking, fascinating, Jericho said, smiling. Issei said nothing and simply extended his right arm with his hand open. Then a magic circle appeared in front of him and fire. And a burst of flame was launched at the demon, who dodged it. 325-335 MP. Besides, you know magic, so you're more interesting than I thought. My master will be pleased to know I found a human like you, Jericho said, smiling as she looked at Issei as an interesting object. Fuck you and your master, Issei said, launching more fire magic. He launched 10 attacks that barely touched the demon. 225-335 MP. Haha, you're so funny. Jericho laughed, quickly closing the distance between them and delivering a powerful punch to the brunette's face, sending him crashing into a wall and destroying it. Minus 300 HP. Arg. Issei screamed, feeling his little bits hurt. The aura prevented his ribs from breaking. Aizer watched helplessly. She could only see the chestnut-haired man being called out and she could barely keep her head up. Come on, brat. Don't tell me that's all you can do. Jericho shouted, hoping Issei was still standing. Issei slowly stood up, looking at his life. 1130-1980 HP. I still had HP, a lot of it. 50 STR and Dex skill limit reached. STR, 290-340. Dex, 269-319. He felt stronger and with that momentum, he stood up to fight the demon. I see you've gotten stronger, Jericho said, observing the change in Issei. The chestnut-haired man's honey-colored eyes were shining brightly in an intense red, and his hair was now glowing a bright yellow as if it were on fire. But this I'm ready, Issei thought, wiping away some blood that had trickled from the corner of his mouth. He activated Buzushoku Haki, and his arms were covered by a shiny black layer that looked metallic. STR, 340-350. Wow, you certainly have some peculiar skills, Jericho said, smiling. Issei wasn't in the mood to talk, so he closed the distance with the demon and made his move. First, he launched a short-range fire attack. That's useless, brat, Jericho said, dodging to his left, but he didn't wait for the next move. Touch. Arg. Jericho gasped as something pierced his left leg. Jericho 1325-3750 HP poisoned, minus 5 HP per second. Issei threw a spear of light at him, which was small, about the size of a tennis racket, and it became embedded in Jericho's leg. Arg, you damn brat, I'm going to kill you. Jericho shouted furiously, not expecting Issei to be able to create light spears. Enduring his pain, he launched several bursts of flame at Issei, each one stronger than the last. With the speed he had acquired, Issei dodged them with relative ease and launched more light spears against Jericho. He launched a total of 7 light spears, plus the one he had launched first. 85-335 MP. Damn, I'm running out of MP, Issei thought, looking at the MP points he had left. If this continues, his aura will be depleted and his current stored power will be lost, leaving him at the mercy of that demon. Jericho launched more flames, and Issei dodged them as he advanced until he was close to Jericho. Now close to the demon, he unleashed a powerful left hook to the demon's abdomen, who doubled over upon receiving such a blow. Erg. Jericho was sent flying against a wall, destroying it, but not stopping until he landed inside one of the houses. Jericho, 1075-3500 HP. Minus 30 STR and Dex. STR, 320. Dex 299. He had to sacrifice some of his stored power to severely damage him. Issei looked at Visor and quickly approached her. Are you okay? Issei asked, taking her in his arms. Everything hurts, she said weakly. Issei quickly picked her up and jumped back. The powerful explosion of flames occurred where I was with Visor. He looked over at where Jericho had ended up and noticed that he was furious. "Now I'm really angry, you damn brat. I'm going to kill you and that ungrateful bitch," Jericho yelled, surrounded by flames. Issei left Visor in a corner. "I'll be right back, I have to finish off that idiot or he'll kill us both." "I'll help you, I promise," Issei said, smiling slightly. Visor stared at him in astonishment. She wanted to say something, but Issei left her alone. "Be careful and please win," Visor thought, looking at Issei's back. Issei looked at Jericho. He had to end this immediately, because if this matter dragged on, everything could go to hell and he could die. "I was planning to take you with me and give you as a new test subject for my master, but with everything you've done so far, I'm going to kill you, you bucking little shit," Jericho said with clear annoyance. Issei said nothing, he didn't have to, he just took a basic boxing fighting stance. Issei's silence annoyed Jericho even more. You piece of shit brat," roared Jericho, launching a powerful fireball at Issei, who dodged it and approached Jericho, still on guard. The demon launched another burst of flame at Issei, who dodged it with some difficulty, but ended up receiving some damage. 1030 1980 HP. He closed the distance between them and the fight began. -30 STR and Dex. STR 290. Dex 269. Issei unleashed more of his stored power and launched a hook at the demon's jaw, who, despite blocking, received half the damage. Jericho, 875 3500 HP. The poison from the light spear was still taking effect and thanks to that, he could lower his life even more. Ham. -150, HP 881,980 HP. Jericho returned the blow after kicking him in the right side. Issei did not succumb to the pain and attacked again. -60 STR and Dex. STR 230. Dex 209. He threw another punch, but this time at Jericho's chest, but Jericho covered himself with both arms, having the damage. Jericho, 675 3500 HP. The demon was furious. This human was winning and leaving him badly injured. Jericho unleashed a point-blank flame that Issei could barely cover. Critical damage -500 HP, burn 381,980 HP. Issei rolled on the ground badly hurt, his aura was weak and he could barely hold the power he had stored, although now it was less. STR 130. Dex 109. He got up with a burning sensation in his body, watched as Jericho approached, and then turned to deliver a powerful kick to his face that knocked him down. -150, HP 231,980 HP. Issei had blood coming from both his mouth and nose. His nose was broken and his lips were split open. His face hurt a lot. "DSS, you damned human, you gave me a lot of trouble, but this ends here," said Jericho, preparing a burst of flame to finish off Issei. Issei looked at his life. Jericho, 355 3500 HP. "Say goodbye to this world," Jericho said, ready to finish off Issei, who just smiled, which made Jericho frown. "What's so funny, brat?" he asked, a grave mistake. "Beware of the light spears," he said, just as Jericho's eyes widened in shock. A spear of light was thrust into the demon's abdomen, causing him to let out a loud shriek of pain. "Aigh," Jericho screamed in agony, taking a few steps back and falling while clutching his abdomen, which had a hole from which a lot of blood was gushing out. Jericho, 205 3500 HP. The demon was poisoned again, but now he could do little because, being weak, the effect was damaging him greatly. Issei slowly got up until the collapse activated and burn disappeared, leaving him very tired. He looked at the demon writhing on the ground, constantly losing life. Issei went into the store and bought 2 potions and drank them, recovering only 100 life points, but something is something. He watched Jericho's final moments. "No, you damned human, I curse you, I curse you, I curse you," the demon repeated furiously and in pain, losing life with every passing second. Jericho 153,500 HP, 123,500 HP, 103,500 HP, 53,500 HP, 10,3,500 HP. The demon, seeing that it was his last remnant, looked at Issei with hatred. "I hope you die in the most vile way," were the demon's last words as he dispersed into purple lights, leaving something behind. Issei approached and saw that it was a bag with golden coins marked with a G, as well as a small shiny black sphere. 500 G obtained, demonic energy control, low, obtained. At least it's something. Random mission completed after reaching 100 points with a demon visor. A new skill has been obtained, demonic energy control, low. And so ended this little encounter that almost cost him his life. You've leveled up, and that's something that pleased him a little. Fire has leveled up, light spear has leveled up, light spear has leveled up, hockey has leveled up, Yuzu Shoku hockey has leveled up, aura 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 has leveled up, burn has leveled up, burn has leveled up, burn has leveled up, MP has increased significantly, and those notifications bothered him. A little achievements obtained, first blood demon slay, first of many. Those achievements surprised him, but not I had time to see them. Issei looked at that and felt bad. He had just killed someone. Gamer mind kept him calm, but that didn't change the fact that he had just killed someone. Relax, Ice, he was going to kill you, so relax, Alexia said, speaking for the first time since the start of the fight. Even so, I killed someone, Issei thought, his hands trembling. Ugh, cough, cough, the sound of a pain groan and cough pulled him from his thoughts. He saw that visor was spitting blood. Damn it, Issei said, quickly approaching her. He approached her, seeing her still terrible condition. Visor, 210 2470 HP. She has very little HP, Issei thought, holding the demon in his arms. Thank you, she said, smiling at Issei. It doesn't matter, it's better to take you to my house, I can help you there, Issei said as the space around him warped to reveal the street as if it were new. What happened? He asked. A pocket dimension, that's why everything is intact, Visor said in Issei's arms. Issei nodded and watched some people walking by normally. He quickly hid, since it would be very suspicious if they saw him carrying a woman in his arms, and to make matters worse, a badly injured one. Damn, how do we move now without being seen? Issei asked, searching for a way to move unnoticed. Look between my breasts, I have something there that will help me recover, Visor said, surprising and making Issei blush. Between your breasts? Why should I put my hand there? Issei asked, not wanting to do that. Just do it please, she begged, and Issei sighed. He looked at the not at all small breasts of the black-haired demon. Her clothes were in very bad shape and barely covered anything. Luppy swallowed hard and nervously, bringing his hand closer to the demon's cleavage. He slowly brought his hand closer and then placed it between her breasts. Damn, it feels really good, Issei thought, feeling the softness of the demon's breasts. It lasted no more than 3 seconds, which felt like minutes to him, when he felt a glass bottle and took it out. He looked at it closely, surprised by what it was. Phoenix Tier, Legendary. Drops produced by the Phoenix clan that have a regenerative effect on the user. They can heal serious wounds, cure negative status effects, and reattach lost limbs. They restore all HP and MP, as well as remove negative effects. Think of it as a Final Fantasy elixir, but in DXD, and with the added bonus of removing adverse effects from the gamer. Open it and put the liquid in my mouth, Visor asked, and Issei did as he was asked. He opened the jar and poured the reddish liquid into the demon's mouth. He witnessed her body being covered in a white glow and how all her wounds healed instantly. Visor, 2470 HP. She was as good as new. Issei helped her up and she smiled at him. Thank you for helping me, seriously, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be in this world anymore, Visor said with a grateful smile. Yes, it's nothing, although I almost died, Issei said nervously. I was truly surprised to see you inside the dimension that idiot created. I didn't expect a human to appear out of nowhere. Although your abilities are impressive, you managed to defeat him despite everything, Visor said, surprised. By the way, what's your name? She asked, referring to her savior. Hi to Issei, and you? Even though he knew his name, he asked him. Visor, it's a pleasure to meet you, Issei-kun, and seriously, thank you for helping me, I owe you my life, Visor said with a smile. You don't have to, I just did what my conscience said was right, I couldn't tell him it was an almost mandatory mission. Even so, I thank you, since there aren't many humans who help others just like that, especially if it's a supernatural being, so if you want something, anything at all, I'm willing to do it without hesitation, Visor said, approaching Issei, who stepped back not from fear, but from the nervousness of being in front of such a beautiful woman. Well, you could help me with something, Issei said, and she looked at him. In what way? She asked, awaiting Issei's request. Well, it turns out I have a date tomorrow, Issei said, and she raised an eyebrow. Aha, she didn't quite understand why he was telling her that. And it turns out she's not human, Issei said, surprising the dark-haired girl. Really? How did you come to that conclusion? Visor asked curiously. Well, it was because of her aura, it feels stronger than that of an ordinary human, Issei lied, he couldn't tell her that the system told him that. I see, you want me to help you kill her? He asked, thinking that was the request. No, that's not it. Issei said, alarmed. So? She asked, confused. I want you to be close by, and if something happens, help me fight. You know that guy almost killed me. I still don't feel ready to fight a supernatural being on my own, Issei said, and she nodded. Well, I can gladly do that, I'll help you fight against whoever wants to kill you, Visor said with a smile, and Issei thanked him. The chestnut-haired man was about to speak but looked at her clothes. Until now he had ignored them since her well-being was more important, but now that he looked at them, her clothes were a mess and barely covered what was necessary. What's wrong? Visor asked, noticing the blush that suddenly spread across Issei's face. Their clothes, Issei pointed out, and she noticed that her breasts were about to spill out and below her waist, she was showing a lot of skin. Damn, I have to fix this, she said, using magic to quickly restore her clothes. Issei sighed and calmed down. Being near a beautiful woman is indeed very stimulating at times. Well, do you have somewhere to stay? Issei asked, since she had probably been on the run. Visor sighed. No, the truth is I have nowhere to stay, she replied, defeated. Well, you can come with me, Issei offered, surprised. Really? She asked, surprised. Yes, I have plenty of rooms in my house, Issei said calmly. But what about your parents? Won't they say anything about you bringing a strange woman into their house? Visor asked. Ah, they passed away 2 years ago, Issei said with a touch of sadness. Oh, I see, sorry for reminding you, she said, feeling bad for reminding him of something sad. It doesn't matter, let's go to my house, I'm getting hungry, Issei said, and she nodded. The two walked back to Issei's house, while several men looked at Visor's good body and became jealous that she was near the brunette. Visor, for her part, looked at Issei, unable to understand why the brunette trusted her, a demon, enough to give her a roof over her head. She lived a long time in the human world, but not every day did she see someone kind enough to help others. He's a strange boy, she thought, looking at the brunette who looked at her confused. What's wrong? Issei asked, and she shook her head with a smile. Nothing's wrong, she said, smiling as she looked ahead. He's strange, but a good guy, I like him, she thought, smiling. Then reputation with Visor Issei was confused by that, but he dismissed it. He quickly checked his condition. Name Haidu Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer. Race human. Qualification. Level 90900 exp. HP 2500 50 HP 1 minute. MP 505 500 fifths 12 MP 1 minute. AP 30. D 2505. STR 78. Bit 70. X 56. Int 60. WIS 62. TA 42. Luck 41. He reached level 9, but the day was already over, there was no other option. I'm going to use the virus, Issei thought, having no other option. Tomorrow will be a crazy day, but he hopes he can survive it. At least he's gained a partner. 7. The date and conflict. The next day Haidu residence. It was the date he had planned with Yuma. He got up earlier than usual and started thinking about what to do. The events of the previous day had left him with much to think about. He didn't know what might happen to him today. Why today of all days? He doesn't know it, but something tells him that this day will end like yesterday, with a fight to the death. He felt nervous, he wasn't going to lie, he couldn't sleep well because of what had happened. I killed someone. It doesn't matter if it wasn't human. Killing is killing and it's wrong. He felt no nausea or fear because gamer mind keeps him calm. But the thought of knowing that he might die worries him. But as Alexia told him, it was him or them, and obviously on the battlefield there is no mercy that matters. He also learned a little more about supernatural beings thanks to Visor. She told him that he could be a fallen angel since they have been active in the city lately, even though it is demon territory. And she cleared up her doubts. Rias Gremory and Sona Citri, the real name of the student council president, are demons and the ones in charge of the city. Visor told him that the fallen angels were one of the races that had the element of light or holy and could manipulate it. Then Issei understood why he obtained the Spear of Light by having 100 points with Yuma. Now Issei was preparing breakfast for 2 people. It felt strange doing that, but now he had a guest and he had to be cordial to her. The scheduled time for the appointment was 10, it was currently 7. Issei finished making breakfast and turned off the stove. Are you still worried? Alexia asked, sounding concerned. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to me today, Issei said as he sat down at the table and served himself some food. You could buy some skills, that way you'd be more at ease, she told him, but Issei shook his head. Overdoing it with skills isn't good, you don't end up using them all, so it's better to have a certain number of skills that are useful, and the ones I currently have are enough for me, he said while having breakfast. You're right, but it doesn't hurt to have more arsenal in reserve, you know, the element of surprise, Alexia said, giving her a point. Yes, but for the moment I'm fine, I'll see what skill he acquired later, he said and continued eating. In 10 minutes she finished her breakfast and washed the dishes she used. Just then someone came into the kitchen. "Good morning, Issei-kun," Visor greeted, taking a seat. "Good morning, how did you sleep?" Issei asked, putting the dishes back in their place. "Well, it's been a while since I slept peacefully and without thinking that they're going to kill me," Visor said calmly as Issei served her breakfast. "Thank you," she replied, taking the cutlery to eat. "You don't have to thank me for anything, you were in trouble and I wanted to help you, it's like the saying goes, do good and don't look at who it's for," said Issei, looking at the dark-haired girl who was eating with a smile. "By the way, are you ready for your date?" she asked, looking at him, and Issei nodded. "Yes, I'm ready," he said somewhat seriously as he remembered the previous night. Flashback last night Issei's room. There he was, the chestnut-haired man sitting on his bed. It was 11:30 and he wasn't sleepy. "Are you sure about doing this?" Alexia asked him, worried. "It's the only option, you see, my time ran out to kill that demon," Issei said seriously but nervously. "Ah, okay, I'll always support you in whatever you decide, after all, we're in this together," she said, still worried. "I'm glad to hear that, Alexia. I'm counting on you," Issei said with a smile. The chestnut tree went into its inventory and took out the item it was looking for. Virus prototype ×1. "Ah, let God's will be done," he said to himself, still nervous. He took out the item, which was a syringe gun, which had a purple liquid inside. He looked at it for a few seconds and placed it on his neck near his jugular vein. He felt the tip of the syringe and inhaled sharply to pull the trigger. He felt the prick and how the liquid entered his circulatory system. It was a strange feeling that lasted 5 seconds when the liquid was inside. Experimental substance detected, prototype virus acquired, installation process initiated, process duration 3H, 30 meters, warning. The host will experience severe muscle and eye pain, and just as it came out in that notification, Issei began to feel his muscles burning next to his eyes. She wanted to scream but held it back, biting a pillow as she writhed in pain. "Hold on, Ice, endure the pain," Alexia told the chestnut-haired man who was only suffering. Those were the 3.5 most painful hours of his life. Although in the end it was all worth it. Virus prototype 100% installed, time to administer serum PG67AW 2359 and 45 seconds, 100 STR, 150 dex, 100 vit. That was the result of those 3 hours of suffering, although he knows it's not much since he doesn't know what he's up against. After that he fell asleep exhausted and waited for dawn, although to be honest, he didn't sleep much. Then flashback. 9:30 AM. "Okay, I'm going now," Issei said, already dressed for his date, as in canon, to Visor, who nodded. "I'll be nearby if you need any help," she said, and Issei nodded, then left for his date. The chestnut tree walked to the bus stop and, after getting on the vehicle, sat in the back as it went to the town square. His eyes remained the same, as he could change their color from their original color to red. That's what Wesker did every time he used his superhuman abilities. The bus dropped him off at his stop and he walked towards the square. 9:50 AM. There were 10 minutes left until his appointment. He felt nervous. He went and sat down on a bench facing the main entrance of the plaza. He was so engrossed that he was surprised when he saw that they handed him a pamphlet with a strange drawing on it. "Here, we'll grant your wish," said the person who handed her the paper. She was a beautiful girl with brown hair, dressed in cosplay. She detected magical energy in that paper. "You'd better take it, Ice," Alexia said. Issei was surprised and took the paper, earning a smile from the girl who went off to deliver more pamphlets. Issei looked at the paper in his hand. Alexia told him it was some kind of summoning circle or something, so he thought he'd better keep it just in case. "Ice-kun." And that was the signal that their date would begin. There came Yuma running, dressed for the occasion. Just like in canon. She hurried to stand in front of Issei. It was 10:05. "Sorry for being late, I had to take care of some things before coming," she apologized with a hint of sadness. "Don't worry, I just arrived," Issei said, feeling accomplished since he had wanted to say that line for a long time. She smiled and took his hand. "Well, let's begin our date," she said, smiling angelically. Issei felt its warmth on his cheeks. "She is beautiful," he said to himself. Without knowing that Alexia pouted about it. Thus the meeting began. While these two started their date, some things were happening separately. With Visor. She was at a safe distance and with her aura low, watching the entire date. She wears a white tank top under a red jacket, dark blue jeans, and black shoes. Yes, she's definitely a fallen angel, but what does she want with Issei-kun? The dark-haired girl wondered, watching the couple leaving the park. She followed them stealthily. CIO Hall. The handset has already been given to Rias. It will activate immediately when she is in danger, Akeno told Rias, who nodded. Both were in the club room wearing the academy uniform. Rias has been monitoring Issei through one of her pieces, since in a short time he has begun to unleash a power greater than that of an average human, and she found that very interesting. We have to keep an eye on him. I don't know what that fallen angel wants from him, but we have to watch them since it seems strange to me that Gremory agents are in this city, knowing that it's under the care of 2 underworld houses, Rias said seriously. That's why you sent Kaneko-chan to keep an eye on them, right? Akeno asked. Yes, prevention is better than cure, Rias said seriously, and Akeno nodded. Then a magic blue circle appeared in the middle of the room. The 2 girls were surprised, as they hadn't expected someone to arrive suddenly. But Rias had a bad feeling. But Issei and Yuma. The 2 continued their date as normal, first going for a walk through the shopping center, where Issei bought her a silver bracelet that had a heart with black wings engraved on it. Then they went to a clothing store before moving on to the food area of the place. After that, the 2 left the mall and went to see a movie at the cinema. They went to see a horror movie at Yuma's request. Issei had the privilege of feeling the dark-haired girl hug him every time a terrifying scene happened. Finally, they left the cinema and went for ice cream. Finally, they went to the park furthest from the city, although unconsciously, as they were very engrossed in a pleasant conversation. I had a lot of fun today, Yuma said with a smile. Me too, Issei said, smiling. The 2 were comfortable in each other's company, so much so that the chestnut-haired man relaxed. You know, I'd like to do it again another day, Yuma said, smiling. Yes, I think it would be great to go out again, Issei said, smiling. Yes, but not as acquaintances, she said, moving closer and slightly away from the chestnut tree. Oh yeah? Issei said, confused. Yes, I'd like it to be more like. She moved closer to Issei, standing so close that her breasts pressed against his chest, causing him to blush. Partner, she said, looking into his eyes. Issei was in shock. His mind went to Mars for a few seconds. He had asked Alexia to turn off annoying notifications and only leave important ones active, so he didn't notice when his reputation with Yuma rose to 200. But we've only known each other for a week and a half, Issei said nervously. I mean, a supernatural beauty just confessed to him. I know, but I like you and I can't get you out of my head, Yuma said, taking Issei's right hand and placing it on his chest, surprising him even more. Can't you feel my heart beating? It's been like this since morning, he said, making Issei blush deeply. Yuma-chan, I don't know what to say, Issei said in surprise, his heart pounding. Please Ice-kun, I want us to be boyfriend and girlfriend, she asked, looking him in the eyes. I like you a lot, really, she said, and Issei didn't know what to say. I don't know what to say, it's too soon for me, Issei said, not feeling ready to be in a relationship. Yes, he liked her, but he felt it was too early to be a couple, they had only known each other for a short time. I understand your confusion, yes, we barely know each other, but understand, in love you can't control things, and I fell in love with you, Yuma said, taking Issei's hands. I like you a lot and I mean it, she said. Issei was at a damn crossroads, he didn't know what to do, but he couldn't accept right away, he barely knew her. Forgive me, but I can't accept, Yuma-chan, Issei said, making her sad and bringing tears to her beautiful eyes. He noticed this quickly and spoke, it's not that I don't like you, you're beautiful and all, but we've only known each other for a little over a week and we only see each other after I leave the academy. I understand, but I really like you, Yuma said with complete sincerity. And I know, you're being honest about your feelings, but I don't want to start a relationship right away, not when we barely know each other. I want to know more about you, your likes, your dislikes, your aspirations. I want to get to know you so I can make a sure decision, Issei said, feeling like shit for rejecting a beauty like her. Despite being rejected, Yuma did not lose hope. He wanted to get to know her. He didn't reject her because he was in love with someone else. He just wanted to know what he felt. I understand, but you should still know that I won't give up. I like you and I'll make you fall for my charms, she said with a beautiful smile. Issei smiled. This didn't end as badly as he thought, so he took a handkerchief and wiped away the tears that escaped the dark-haired girl. Haha, although I don't think it will take you long, he said, and Yuma smiled brightly. But then her face changed from happiness to surprise. Warning, imminent danger detected. The notification hit him in the face as he walked by. Watch out. Yuma shouted, pushing Issei aside and then jumping back. Hey? Issei was shocked. From one moment to the next, things changed from being good to being bad. Well, a pair of lovebirds, or should I say a crow with a human, ugh, they disgust me, said a man in a trench coat and hat arriving at the scene. Issei looked at the subject who had a pair of black wings, and the sky was purple. He decided to use observing with him. Name Donasek. Age 110 years. Graceful and angel. Level 125. HP 5500. MP 2000. The information from that individual cleared up his doubts. A fallen angel like those mentioned in the Bible. Then more fallen angels appeared through magic circles of different colors, all dressed in black. Who would have thought that useless Azazel would send agents to watch over the city? TCH, that guy is not only cowardly, but also annoying, Donasek complained. At that moment, a spear of yellow light was thrown at Donasek, who dodged it by ascending. DCH, more of Azazel's bitches, said the man, looking at those who were arriving. Yuma, are you okay? Asked the older, dark-haired woman who looked like Yuma. Yes, nothing happened to me, Yuma said. These bastards, and to think they'll attack you at the end of your date, they're such lowlifes, said a beautiful woman with blue hair and golden eyes, tall, with a voluptuous body, and wearing a red dress with a deep neckline. Issei observed them carefully, as he did not expect any more fallen angels to appear. Are you okay? A short blonde girl wearing a gothic lowly outfit asked. Yes, I'm fine, Issei replied, coming out of his shock. That's good, well, get up, she said, and Issei quickly got up, approaching the girls and Yuma, who looked at them sadly. Ice-kun, but Issei denied it. You can explain later, now's not the time, Issei said, and she nodded. Yuma, get your boyfriend out of here, a human shouldn't interfere in our affairs, ordered the older black-haired woman. Rainer is right, the boy could get hurt, said the blue-haired girl. You think I'll let that brat escape? You're stupid if you thought that, Donasek said with a wide grin as she created a spear of purple light. That boy has something that could hinder our plans. Our leader wants him dead, she said. Rainer looked at Issei in surprise, then at Donasek. I won't let you hurt the boy, so you better prepare your will because you're not leaving here alive, Rainer said, creating 2 spears of light. You are the ones who will not leave here alive, said Donasek, and all the fallen angels who came with him prepared their spears of light. Issei looked at everything attentively. Then Yuma took his hand. Ice-kun, you have to leave here, she said, and Issei looked at her. But what will happen to you all? There are so many of you, Issei said, worried about her. You don't have to worry about us, kid, we know what we're doing, Rainer said without taking her eyes off the front. Yes, so you'd better escape from here, since Yuma will explain things to you later, said the blue-haired girl. That's right, leave before something bad happens to you, said the blonde. Issei used to observe them. Name Rainer. Age 25 years old. Race half-fallen angel. Level 79. HP 4100. MP 2100. Name Calwerner. Age 27 years. Race fallen angel. Level 76. HP 3900. MP 1900. Name Mitlet. Age 18 years. Race fallen angel. Level 68. HP 3200. MP 1800. They were more skilled than him, but they still outnumbered them. He looked at Yuma. Name Yuma. Age 18 years old. Race half-fallen angel. Level 30. HP 2550. MP 1950. The hero only didn't have a last name, implying that he only has a first name. Anyway, we have to get him out of here quickly, Rainer said, throwing one of her spears at great speed, killing 2 fallen angels. Issei was surprised. He could barely see the speed of that spear. Don't even think I'll let them take that brat out of here, he has to die, Donasek said seriously. In your dreams, idiot, Rainer said seriously. DCH, kill those bitches. Donasek ordered his subordinates. And so the fallen angels began to attack, some from afar and others descending to fight. The 3 girls were superior to them, as their teamwork was exceptional. Issei looked at all of that in surprise when something caught his attention. Some fallen angels launched themselves at him, and Yuma couldn't do anything because they had her surrounded. Ice-kun. She screamed, terrified that they were going to kill Issei. The others were worse off, as they couldn't go to help. Random mission created Pluck the Crows. Eliminate the fallen angels coming for your head. Objective 1. Kill as many fallen angels, enemies, as you can. Objective 2. Kill Donasek. Reward 1. 200x per fallen angel, enemy killed, 300g per fallen angel, enemy killed, spell thunder, French francs. Reward 2. 1200x, 2000g, spell Thundara, French francs. Failure. Death of Yuma, Rainer, Mitlet and Calwerner, system loss, a great mission with many losses. Well, I have to win no matter what, Issei said, getting into a fighting stance. The fallen angels mocked the chestnut-haired man for being on guard. Ice, take care, okay? Alexia asked him. Yes, I won't fall here, Issei told him. Today would be his first serious fight and he had to win it or die. 8 game over. This chapter would be like an arc finale to move on to the next, which would be the reboot of the system. after reading the first season of Solo Leveling, I have to tell you that now the system will only help Issei and possible allies, the party in this case, although it will have less effect than with the user. And to avoid being with enemy HP and MP, I will base it on the power level used on pages like VS Battle Wiki or Limitless Fiction to give effect to Issei's stats against his enemies. I'm writing the next chapter to move on to what would be the main plot of DxD, since I've more or less figured out the system, and now I won't have any problems because I have the power level of DxD ready. To give you an example. The pinnacle of power in DxD, up until Shin DxD4, would be Great Red. Office doesn't count since she's split in two, who in this fic will have a multi-continental class power level, able to destroy several continents, and Trihexa the same since they both hold their own, so the ultimate level would be multi-continental, and the weakest would be human level. I've already figured out how much STR is needed to surpass each power level and all that, so look forward to it, plus I had to research Weasler's power level because of the virus, and well, he can barely knock himself off a wall onto a small building. Anyway, that's a lot of text see you later, my friends. There he was, on guard, watching his attackers, who were 3 in number. They looked at him mockingly and, with spears of light in their hands, launched their attack. Issei became serious and activated the power that the prototype virus gives him in his eyes. At that moment, Issei's pupils changed from their usual color to red. It was fast, so fast that it surprised everyone present. First Issei was standing in one place, when suddenly he disappeared in a blur and landed a tremendous hook in the face of one of the fallen angels. Then he disappeared again when one of them was about to impale him, then he delivered a powerful uppercut to the jaw and a kick to the abdomen that sent him flying. The last one, surprised, did not expect Issei to create a spear of light and stab it into his chest next to his heart, killing him instantly. Then the chestnut tree calmed down and began to breathe heavily. Ha, 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 this is harder than it looks, he said to himself, noticing that everyone was looking at him. The feeling was strange. First he saw everything moving slowly, then there was the fact that a kind of adrenaline rush ran through his body, and then he got tired. What the hell just happened? Donasek wondered, not understanding a thing. Didn't you say he was just a human? Rainer asked her little sister. And it is, I think, Yuma said, completely confused. Anyway, at least they won't kill him easily, Kalwariner said. Issei, for his part, calmed down and watched as a group of 10 fallen angels approached him. He prepared himself and this time he would fight with everything he had. Fire! Issei shouted as a fireball shot from his hand towards the enemies. He hit one who fell to the ground writhing. While the others closed the distance with him. Issei, using his great speed, moved away from them and began attacking from a distance. Fire, 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 fire. Issei launched several fireballs to damage the fallen angels. Some fell burned while others dodged it. There were only 5 left. 439 505ths MP. It stopped because it still doesn't fully control the virus's power in its system. That was taken advantage of by one of the fallen angels who punched him hard. Minus 80 HP 49 25,000 HP. Active burn. 178, 278. 206, 306. Issei acted quickly when he was hit. He quickly put his hand forward and launched the attack. Fire. A ball of fire at point-blank range hit the fallen angel who attacked him in the face. 428 505ths MP. He fell to the ground engulfed in flames, but that only hurt him. TCH, rat, but no matter how long Tiempo resists, he'll die anyway, Donasek said, blocking a light spear. He looked at Rainer, who was responsible. Stupid bitch, it's a waste for a good body like yours to be killed, but orders are orders, he said, lunging at Rainer, who blocked him. You're 1,000 light years away from having this body, you damn fool, Rainer said, starting a fight against Donasek. Kalwariner summoned a weapon, a strange 2-pronged golden spear, which he charged with electric magic. Now it's time to work, Kalwariner said, launching herself at a group of fallen soldiers who did little to resist the powerful onslaught of the blue-haired woman. I'm going to have fun too, Mitlet said, creating 2 spears of light and a wall around Yuma. If you're so worried about him, help him, he said, launching himself into battle. Yuma reacted quickly and went to help his Issei. Issei launched more fireballs at the fallen, he launched about 20 more and barely managed to take out 2 of them. 208 505ths MP. Damn, if this keeps up, I'm going to run out of MP fast, Issei complained. 220 505ths MP. It barely regenerated after a minute had passed. Rias. The powerful lightning strike killed the other 3 remaining ones. It was Yuma who stood next to him. Ice-kun, are you okay? She asked worriedly. Yes, thank you for the help, Issei said gratefully. I didn't know you could do magic and that you had such agility, she said after seeing what Issei did. "And you, who were a fallen angel," he said, looking at her. She felt unwell. "That explains your beauty, because to me, it's not human," Issei said, making her blush. "You fool, you're making me blush," she said, launching spears of light that took out 2 fallen angels. Issei quickly used his inhuman agility, beating down a fallen one until he was at 0, as he dissipated into light, implying that he died. Fallen angels eliminated 3. "Let me help you with this, okay?" Yuma said to her side. "You'd be doing me a big favor," Issei said. Thus, they both began to support each other, since Issei only had physical damage, because his magical damage was limited to the power of magic. Issei avoided using much MP, as he barely restored 12 points per minute. He appreciated Yuma's support, since she is not limited by gamer logic like he is. With Rainer, she was having a tough fight against Donasek, both clashing their light spears, although it was clear that the idiot in a trench coat was stronger than the Hexy brunette. "You can't beat me, you're too weak," Donasek said, punching the dark-haired woman in the face and throwing her backwards. Rainer could barely stand. That guy was strong and more experienced than her, it was obvious he would beat her. "Do me a favor and die already," Donasek said, launching a stronger spear of light at Rainer, who barely dodged it, but the explosion reached her and threw her to the side, leaving her injured. "Damn it, ugh," she complained, feeling the pain. "Weakling, I don't know why Azazel would send useless beings like you to try and capture us," Donasek said seriously, before dodging 2 spears of light. It was Kalwerner and Mitlet who were going to help their friend. "More nuisances, they're not even good for heating," said Donasek, creating 2 spears of light. Action that the blonde and blue-haired woman followed. "We'll kick your ass, you bucking idiot," Kalwerner said seriously. "We won't let you live any longer," Mitlet said. "Ah, nice words for some useless ones," said the man in the trench coat as the 3 of them began to fight. Issei and Yuma were busy with their own thing. Issei stopped using magic because his MP was low. 8,500 MP. So he began to use his current power to fight against the fallen angels, supported by Yuma who fought well. One of those subjects lunged at him, but with his enhanced vision, he dodged and delivered a powerful punch that knocked him to the ground so that Yuma could finish him off by stabbing him in the neck with a spear. Issei retreated but received strong blows with spears to the back. "Ah!" he screamed as he felt the pain. -500, HP 44-25,000 HP. STR, 278, 578. X 306 606. Burn limit reached. With that, I was now more than ready. With renewed strength he rose up and, activating the power of the virus, launched himself against the enemies. Yuma watched in surprise. Issei was literally on fire, as his brown hair had golden sparkles like fire, and his eyes were red. Issei delivered devastating blows and ran at a speed barely perceptible to those fallen angels. Each blow was lethal, so much so that it killed some and left others badly injured, but it was because Issei released 10 points of STR and Dex every time he hit. Yuma didn't stay behind and began killing more renegades from her faction, although she didn't escape unscathed either. 10 minutes passed, during which Issei barely recharged 120 MP. 200 505 MP. "Alexia, I need something to restore MP quickly," Issei said, now with less power than before. STR, 578, 278. X 606 206. "Wait a few seconds, I'll have everything ready," Alexia said, quickly going to the store to find what Issei needed, which she found quickly. High Ether Final Fantasy Series price 300G, restores 150 MP. Alexia bought 2 for Issei and put them in his inventory. -600, G 1905G. "You already have 2 ethers in your inventory," she informed him. "Thank you," Issei said, quickly punching one of the fallen angels hard in the face, breaking it and knocking him out. But he failed to dodge 3 spears of light that hit him in the back, exploding, although his aura dropped considerably. Aura meter 45%. -150, HP 42-75,000 HP. STR, 278, 453. X 206 381. "Damn campers." Issei complained, turning around with his eyes blazing. "I'm going to kill you." And he launched himself at the guys, releasing 20 STR and Dex on each one, killing them. STR, 453, 393. Dex, 381 321. Meanwhile, Yuma killed other fallen angels and went to where Issei was. "Are you okay?" I asked him, since I saw how they attacked him. "Yes, let's get back to what we were doing," Issei said, and she nodded. "But the 3 girls and Donasek." The 3 gave it their all and hurt the fallen one, but Donasek was stronger and managed to defeat them. Yes, the three of them put up a fight together, but they're still weak, they didn't manage to do much damage to me, said Donasek, sporting a few scrapes, his hat missing, and his trench coat damaged. Damn it. Rainer said, hurt, next to her friends, since the fallen one turned out to be stronger than they expected. I'd better kill them now, there's no point in fighting you, said Donasek, creating a large spear of light. Issei saw that from afar and became worried. Rainer looked at that annoyed, she felt useless, but she wasn't the only one, since her two friends thought the same. Rainer was also upset because if she died, she knew her little sister would be next, and that upset her, not being able to defend her sister from a bastard like him. Don't worry about your little sister, I'll take very good care of her, haha, Donasek said, making it clear what he would do with Yuma when he killed the three fallen in Issei. You bastard. Don't you dare touch my sister. Rainer shouted angrily. Donasek just smiled and, with the enormous spear of light already prepared, he threw it. They just watched as the spear of light headed towards them and closed their eyes. Yuma, forgive me, Rainer thought sadly about her ending. But it doesn't all end like that. Boom. Ice-kun. Yuma's shout echoed throughout the place. Rainer, Kalwerner and Mitlet watched in shock as Yuma's lover stepped between the light spear and them, being pierced through the stomach. Then they saw him spit out a large amount of blood and collapse to the ground. Damn it, you brat, well, at least I'm done with him now, Donasek said, looking angrily at Issei lying in a pool of his own blood. Yuma rushed over to hold the dying Issei, but it was no use. His eyes were losing their color. No, 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 no. Yuma cried as he put his hand on Issei's stomach hole. Visor watched from afar, frightened. Her fear of dying at the hands of those fallen angels was stronger than her desire to help Issei, and now the one who saved her was pierced by a spear of light. The girls were absolutely astonished. They hadn't expected Issei to sacrifice himself for them. Rainer watched as her little sister was covered in the blood that Issei was releasing from the hole where his stomach had been. It was obvious that he was dead. DCH, shut the hell up, you little shit. He was going to die of something, so I did him a favor by killing him, Donasek said, not caring about what happened to Issei. Yuma was upset about that. That damned guy had taken away the boy she loved and he had to pay. Shut up, you damn piece of shit. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Yuma screamed, completely out of control and throwing spears wildly. Donasek dodged them with annoyance. He was about to attack when something threw him off. A small fireball was thrown at Donasek and it was so powerful that it knocked him to the ground. Who the hell was that? The fallen man shouted angrily. They only responded with another fireball, but this time he dodged it by moving away from there. Visor quickly appeared with a phoenix tear ready as he looked at Issei. Obviously the detentious became alert. Who are you? Rainer asked, somewhat recovered but cautious. That doesn't matter, give this to him, quick. Visor said, looking regretfully at Issei. Without thinking twice, they poured the contents of the tear into the hole that began to regenerate, relieving the girls, but Issei was not breathing. Visor clenched her fists, feeling annoyed. She was supposed to help him, but she chickened out. At that moment, a little blood that Yuma had on his hand fell onto Issei's chest, where the paper that the girl had given him earlier was. Then a crimson glow appeared and a magic circle of the same color became present. Donasek looked at that and saw that he had to leave immediately. DCH, you bastards, watch out, because I'll get my revenge for all this, said Donasek, creating a magic circle to escape. The girls just watched as Rias' Gremory emerged from the circle, looking seriously at everyone present. What happened here? He asked, looking at the girls, but when he saw who Yuma was holding, he was shocked. It can't be, Haidu-kun, she said quickly, approaching Issei. Yuma looked at Rias who snatched Issei from her arms. Hey, leave him alone. Yuma yelled angrily. Rias looked at her seriously, but ignored her and looked at Issei. Damn it, why did they have to call us all at such a crucial moment? She cursed herself, looking at the result of what had happened. I didn't want it to be this way, but I hope you're not mad at me, she whispered to herself, holding Issei. The detentious watched that, since Rainer had stopped her sister from doing something stupid, she would recognize that red hair anywhere and knew they would get into trouble. I don't know what you're doing in demon territory, but to maintain what little peace exists between our factions, I'll let you go, so leave, Rias said, still holding Issei, while summoning a black box with the Gremory symbol engraved in red on one side. The three major falls had to accept since Rias was the Mayu's younger sister and they didn't want any trouble, but there was someone who disagreed with that. I won't leave, not until I know Ice-kun is alright, Yuma said seriously, slightly surprising Rias. Yuma, this isn't the time for that. We need to leave. We've already compromised the mission too much. We have to return to Gregory to report what happened here, Rainer said, looking at her little sister. No, I won't leave without knowing that Ice-kun is okay. Yuma shouted, silencing everyone present. I see you're very worried, Rias said without taking her eyes off the contents of the black box. I love him, Yuma said seriously, surprising Rias. So that's it, curious, but that's love for you, a mystery, Rias said, looking at Yuma. Well, you can stay, but only you, since you have feelings for him, and it would leave a bad taste in my mouth to separate someone in love from their loved one, she said, then looked at Visor, who tensed at her gaze. And you, we have a lot to talk about. I heard a report of recent rogue demons, and you're among them, she said, and Visor nodded. Rias looked at the dead Issei, who had a pained expression on his face. She felt bad. If it hadn't been for that abrupt meeting, she would have saved Issei in time. Forgive me, she whispered as a reddish glow enveloped Issei. Issei's paw. I felt cold, very cold, after that horrible pain, I felt cold, everything was going away, I felt light, I lost all my strength, I felt the cold run through my body. But if there was one thing I saw before I fell, it was that last notification. That notification that only meant one thing, and nothing good. It's a shame, but even so, I would have liked to continue longer, although at least I'll be reunited with my parents. Random mission failed. Game over. 9 restart. There he was, lying in the middle of a dark place with a single glow shining on him. He was lying in the fetal position, apparently asleep. All around him there was only infinite darkness. There was nothing and no one. Just him and a strange glow that surrounds him. A voice began to be heard in the place, although somewhat distorted. Little by little the voice began to be heard better, it was clearly female. Say that voice was calling someone, but who? Say the voice was already forming the name, but still couldn't formulate the word well. Issei. Was the shout that made him open his eyes. Issei, got up from the ground and looked around, confused. Am I dead? Was his first question. He looked around but didn't understand anything. But that voice, he whispered, trying to remember where he had heard that voice before. Alexia, he said, the name of the woman who had been his partner for a few short weeks. Issei. I hear Alexia's voice coming from the shadows. He stood up and, looking all around, began to shout. Alexia. I shouted, hoping to find her. Issei. I hear her closer, but I still can't see her. Alexia. He shouted, looking around, but he started running in any direction, followed by that light above him. Issei. He heard her closer. Issei started running in search of the source of the voice, hoping to find it. Issei. Now I hear her closer. He looked ahead, where a small light could be seen, and ran fast, so fast that his eyes turned red and his speed became exaggerated. After a few seconds he arrived and looked at the female silhouette. Alexia. He shouted, stretching out his left arm. The silhouette turned and looked at him, extending its left arm as it approached. Issei. And he could see her, his partner, Alexia, who smiled with tears in her eyes upon seeing him. The two approached each other, and when their hands touched, the whole place glowed. After a few seconds everything returned to a sky blue color, while the floor was made of black and white tiles like a chessboard. Issei looked in front of him at Alexia, who was smiling with tears in her eyes. I'm glad you're okay, sniff, really she said, tears welling in her eyes. Am I not supposed to be dead? Issei asked, confused. Technically yes, but they managed to save you in time, Alexia said, still with tears in her eyes. Issei didn't know why, but unconsciously he brought his hand to Alexia's face and with his thumb, gently wiped away the tears from her face. Alexia blushed at the action. She hadn't expected it, but she didn't dislike it either. Dirty reputation with Alexia. The notification appeared before his eyes, surprising him. After that, the two stared at each other until Issei spoke again. What happened? The last thing I remember was that bastard piercing my stomach, and then nothing, Issei said, looking at himself, noticing the missing hole in his stomach. As I told you, you died but were saved in time by Rias' Gremory, Alexia explained, surprising Issei with this information. Rias-senpai saved me? How? Issei asked, confused. With this she said when, floating on the palm of her hand, 8 crystalline pawns of crimson color appeared. Issei observed the pawns, understanding that these pawns were something special and strange, since if they saved him from dying, they were something truly special. As I understand it, they're called evil cans, and they work to reincarnate any human being or other non-god races into demons. Now you belong to Rias' Gremory's Peerage as her pawn, Alexia explained, while Issei remained silent for a long time. Ice, are you alright? She asked worriedly. Huh? Yeah, I'm fine, it's just that this whole being revived thing feels strange, Issei said, staring into space. Alexia looked at him worriedly. Issei sighed. Well, at least I'm not dead, and that's what matters, he said, smiling, although he would really need to process this whole demon thing very carefully. Alexia sighed, relieved that Issei was calm. By the way, what happened to the system? Issei asked. Alexia looked at him and sighed again. Issei didn't like that at all. Well, with your death and imminent reincarnation as a demon, the system underwent a massive change as it detected the host, that is, you, alive. You'd better take a look, Alexia said, and Issei looked at the screen that rose between them. Name Haidu Issei. Age 17 years. Class the gamer pawn. Race demon, low class. Title untitled. Level 10200 exp. HP 2000 40 HP minute. MP 1000 20 MP minute. AP 0. G0. STR 330 F. Bit 200 G. Dex 220 E. Int 70 G. Was 80 G. Ta 63 G. Luck 50 G. No way, level 1 again, Issei said, seeing that his previous progress up to level 9 had been wiped out. But then I noticed something that threw him off. Wait, my stats have increased, and my HP and MP are higher than before, plus STR and Dex have also increased, he said, noticing the change. Indeed, since you are no longer human and are now a demon, your stats have changed, becoming higher than those of an average human, Alexia explained, and Issei nodded. And what are those letters next to the statistics? Issei asked, looking at the letters. That's your power level on the ranking scale. According to the tier, you'd be G to F. You could destroy anything from a wall to a small building. You're stronger because the prototype virus adapted to your blood and now you don't need the serum. That will help you a lot as your stats increase, Alexia explained, surprising Issei. Wow, I am strong, Issei said, surprised. Don't get cocky, there are beings stronger than you. You're stronger than the average low-class demon, so it's best to be cautious. According to the information I was able to gather thanks to your new race, there are demons who display greater power than their predetermined ranks, Alexia said, and Issei nodded. By the way, what happened to Yuma and those girls? Issei asked, worried about the dark-haired girl. For that, you'd better wake up and find out for yourself, Alexia said, and Issei looked confused but said nothing. And how do I do that? He asked, confused. That's right, just close your eyes, I'll do the rest, Alexia said, and Issei nodded. The chestnut-haired man closed his eyes, waiting, when he felt something soft on his lips. He opened his eyes and watched Alexia kiss him. He was shocked and she pulled away with a gentle smile. That's what I got for worrying. He couldn't say anything as everything went dark. Alexia 50 rep. You have reached 100 rep with Alexia, you have received a system gift 3 lottery tickets. Issei felt his eyes grow heavy, but he still slowly opened them, looking around his room. She opened her eyes completely and looked around. Oh, I'm home, she said to herself, sitting slowly on her bed as she felt some discomfort. I noticed that his room was clean and he was wearing his Spider-Man pajamas. Ugh, it seems like someone clean is filthy, said Issei, feeling his throat dry. Cough, cough, I'm thirsty. He got out of bed and stood up. He felt stronger, looked down at his abdomen and, lowering the zipper of his pajamas, looked at his much-changed body, now more defined in his torso, and there was no trace of that hole through which that spear of light had pierced him. Well, it seems magic is convenient, he said to himself, as the door to his room opened. It was Yuma who wore a tank top that revealed her abdomen because her large breasts lifted it up and short shorts that trapped her white legs. Issei blushed because he never expected to see a girl like that. Well, that wasn't his cousin. Yuma-chan, good morning, Issei greeted with a smile. Upon seeing him standing, Yuma threw down what he was carrying, which was a cloth to clean Issei's torso, and pounced on him. Ice! She shouted, hugging Issei tightly, not caring that his torso was exposed because he forgot to zip up his pants. Issei hugged her and realized that she was very worried. After all, he had technically been murdered right in front of her eyes. Ice, are you okay? Thank goodness she's okay, Yuma said, shedding tears as she buried her tearful face in Issei's chest, who felt terrible for making her feel this way. Okay, everything's fine, forgive me for worrying you, Issei apologized, hugging her affectionately while stroking her long hair. The two hugged for a few minutes, Yuma calming down a little and then blushing like an apple when she saw Issei's bare and well-defined torso in front of her. But how hexy, she thought, blushing and swallowing hard. Are you calm now? Issei asked, pulling her out of her reverie. Yes, I'm calm now, she said, blushing, then looked seriously at Issei. Why? Why did you do that stupid thing? She asked, annoyed, since her partner had been killed. I'm sorry, it's just that my body moved on its own, Issei said awkwardly, apologizing, because at that moment he didn't think and simply threw himself forward to receive the damage from Rainer and the others. Yuma looked at him seriously, but then she became sad. Don't do it again, please, I beg you, she said with tears in her eyes. Issei felt guilty, even though it was an idiotic impulse. He saved Yuma's sister's life along with her two friends, that is, he gave his life to save three, and even if they hadn't done the same for him, he doesn't regret what he did. I promise, I'll avoid doing something like that again, Issei said, hugging Yuma, who clung tightly to him. They stayed like that for a while, until, uncomfortably, Issei's stomach growled. That's right, you must be very hungry, you were unconscious for 2 days, said Yuma, now calmer although the news of being unconscious for 2 days was very surprising to Issei. 2 days. I was unconscious for 2 days. He shouted in astonishment, then coughed cough, damn dry throat he complained, since he hadn't drunk any water. Yuma quickly went to get a glass of water and returned to give it to him. Here, take this, she said, handing him the glass. Thank you, Issei said, quickly drinking the water to hydrate his esophagus. Ah, much better, he said, no longer feeling thirsty. Now, how come I was unconscious for 2 days? Aika must have been worried when she didn't see me at the academy, he said, concerned, since it was unusual for him not to go to school. Well, we need to talk about that, Yuma said, looking worried. Issei looked at her and understood for a moment. Come on, let's sit down, Issei said, sitting on his bed and sitting her down next to him. Issei looked at her. She seemed worried, so he took her hand and intertwined his fingers with hers. This made Yuma look at him. Yuma-chan, tell me what you have to say without fear, I will listen attentively, said Issei, smiling warmly at his girlfriend. He still didn't know if that's what they were. Yuma inhaled and exhaled to become serious. I know this will be new and surprising for you, but listen to me until the end, okay? She asked, looking him in the eyes. Issei nodded. So Yuma proceeded to explain things better, of course, with Alexia writing down everything the dark-haired woman said. I explained to him about the supernatural world, about the existence of beings such as demons, angels, gods and other creatures described in the various beliefs and religions around the world. She told him that she came from Gremory, home of the fallen angels located in a place in the underworld, because her sisters and friends were entrusted with a mission, because a group of rogue angels have been searching for and murdering humans, all potential bearers of sacred gears. That's where I explained to him about the sacred gears, who created them and their original purpose that became distorted over time. I also tell him about the existence of 13 powerful sacred gears that would be capable of even killing gods, catalogued as Longinus. Although we thought you were a possible sacred gear wielder and I was sent to watch over you, I simply started to like you, and that's why I approached you, Ice-kun. I really like you, I like you a lot, that's why I approached you in the first place, not because of my mission, but because I like you, Yuma declared, looking into the brunette's eyes. Issei, after hearing everything about the supernatural, blushed at Yuma's serious declaration towards him. She really liked him and that made him happy. That's why I felt like my world was falling apart when that bastard murdered you. I didn't know what to do, I felt lost, Yuma said, beginning to shed tears, as Issei's death was still fresh in her memory. Issei comfortingly squeezed Yuma's hand. He couldn't imagine the pain she went through when she saw him die. To be honest, I didn't like how the Gremory heiress reincarnated you, but at least I know you're alive because of it, and for that I'm grateful. Besides, if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here with you, Yuma said, looking at Issei with a slight smile. Yeah, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that I'm a reincarnated demon, Issei said, still uncomfortable about having died and been resurrected by a demon who is his senpai at the academy. But at least I'm alive because of it. I resigned myself to dying and seeing my parents again, but it seems I still have things to do in this world, he said, staring into space. Although grateful to be alive, it's still strange to know that he's no longer human. Yes, I'm happy to have you with me, Yuma said, hugging the brunette and pulling him onto the bed with herself on top of him. I love you, Ice-kun, she said, looking at him. Issei felt his heart pounding, this girl. 50 reputation with Yuma. The two of them stayed there, hugging very close together, with Yuma on top of Issei, neither wanting to separate. But as always, fate screws things up. Grrrr. Issei's stomach growled again. Sorry about that, but I'm hungry, Issei apologized sheepishly. Yuma smiled and after kissing Issei's lips, got out of bed. I'm going to prepare something for you, wait for me here, she said with a smile as she left Issei's room. The chestnut-haired man followed Yuma's rear end, as both the front and rear were something the fallen woman possessed. Issei remained silent, staring at the ceiling of his room. So, a demon, huh? He said, still unable to believe that he had ceased to be human. I have to explain the system changes to you, Alexia said to the brunette. That's right, you said it underwent a change when I died and was revived, Issei said, remembering that. Indeed, let me explain, she said, beginning her explanation. The changes are as follows. 1. The XP requirement to level up doubles as you level up. 2. Physical stats STR and Dex affect the user and fall into the category of power level, with power, resistance, speed and senses increasing depending on each one. 3. Int and Wis affect the handling of energies, demonic energy, magic, haki, chakra, kai etc. Since both affect the learning, int, and handling, Wis, of energies, regardless of whether both stats are low or not. Wis slightly affects the user's intellect and int the way the user learns. 4. The effect of magic is the sum of int and Wis, which increases the power of the magic if it is attack magic or its effect on the target. 5. The tier, power level, is rated with letters, with H being the lowest and SSS the highest. In stats, it is used depending on a certain number in a stat, with a tier of an individual being given, depending on the sum of all stats, the user, or the power of this individual, any individual who is not the user. 6. With each level increased, the stats increase slightly, in addition to each level you get 20 AP to distribute as you like. 7. The store will have items of different categories depending on the user's level. 8. The lottery will have rarer prizes depending on the user's level. 9. There is equipment and items that affect the user's stats. 10. The user may or may not form a party, although this only affects the base abilities of the allies and serves to increase the power of the ally in question. 11. If the user dies permanently, the system and all its progress disappear. Wow, that's something I should definitely keep in mind, Issei said after hearing everything Alexia told him. Well, the system has that and more, but that's the most important thing, she explained, and Issei nodded. But what does he mean by dying permanently? Issei asked. Oh, well, the system acts like a pseudo-sacred gear. It's rooted in your soul, and if your soul is destroyed, then the system is destroyed too, she said seriously, because she was worried that something might happen to Issei. Well, I'll have to be very careful, Issei said seriously. And very much so, since when a supernatural being dies, it simply disappears, leaving no trace of its soul, nor returning to the cycle of reincarnation, Alexia explained, making Issei feel an unpleasant chill. Damn, I'll have to level up so I don't die easily, Issei said, now worried, since he didn't know what he was getting himself into. Talk talk talk. Issei looked towards the door, confused. Yes? He asked. Can I come in? Asked a voice he recognized because he had heard it very close up a few days ago. Rias senpai, the chestnut-haired man thought seriously. Of course, he said, and the aforementioned entered. Excuse me, Rias said, entering Issei's room. Seeing him sitting on his bed, she smiled in relief. It's good you're awake, I was starting to get worried, she said, smiling as she approached a chair at the brunette's desk. May I? She asked. Please, said Issei as Rias took a seat and crossed her legs, letting Issei see her very hexy purple panties, something that made the brunette blush and look away. She did it unconsciously. Well, I imagine Yuma has explained your new situation to you, Rias said calmly, although inside she was somewhat nervous about how Issei would take it. Yes, now I am a demon under your command, Issei said without much emotion. Rias noticed that tone of voice and sighed in distress. It sounds bad when you put it like that, but technically that's what it is, and I'm really sorry, I didn't mean for things to end up like this, Rias said with a clear tone of regret in her voice. And how did you want things to end? The brunette asked, somewhat annoyed. I actually thought about inviting you to the club to propose that you become part of my peerage, Rias said sincerely. Issei frowned. And why didn't he do it? Issei asked. Well, I couldn't find the right moment to ask you, I mean, it's not like I'm suddenly inviting you, and you could become part of my peerage, after all, that would be weird, Rias said, and Issei had no choice but to agree. But I didn't expect the events of 2 days ago, she added with a hint of regret. Issei raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? He asked. Well, I've been watching you for a while now. I sensed a power in you and thought it was a sacred gear, so I sent someone to watch you, she explained. Now I understand why I sometimes felt watched, he said, discovering that strange feeling of being observed. Yes, well, I had you under surveillance, but something came up that really bothered me, and I had to leave the city with my entourage, she explained, annoyed, remembering why she and her group had been summoned. I returned immediately upon feeling the summoning from the pamphlet I gave you. I expected it to be something else, not finding you lying there with a hole in your stomach, she said, lowering her gaze and looking gloomy. Issei was surprised by how she was expressing herself. Although I gathered my entourage in a way almost similar to yours, I never wanted that. I wanted to find them myself and propose that they join my team in a different way, but apparently, it's not always like that, she explained, looking him in the eyes, her gaze reflecting sadness. I hope to change that by trying to propose that you be part of my entourage, but things didn't go well and it ended in that tragedy, she said, clenching her fists tightly in frustration. Issei didn't say anything, he just listened to her, and it was clear that she was sad. You died because of my incompetence. I failed in that, not only because you have a sacred gear, but because I'm supposed to protect all the humans in the city, since Kuo is under my jurisdiction, along with the Citri retinue. We were investigating those fallen beings who were attacking humans, but they were well hidden, and it seems someone else is backing them up. That's why we couldn't deal with them, and your death was one of the many results of my incompetence as the head of Kuo, Rias said with several mixed emotions. Issei was surprised because Rias seemed sorry and sad about the things that had happened. I'm truly sorry for having reincarnated you without your permission, but I had to do it. It's selfish, but I wanted you to live, Rias said, looking at him with remorse. Issei looked at her seriously. Just for possessing a sacred gear? Issei asked. Rias looked at him and lowered her gaze. I know it sounds selfish, but I wanted you to be part of my peerage, Rias said, feeling guilty. But I didn't want it this way. I wanted your opinion, she said sincerely. Issei sighed, unsure what to say, as he had so much to think about. Yes, she could have let him die and all that, but she saved him. Of course, it was because he was a potential sacred gear user, but he is still alive, and that is something to be grateful for. No matter how she looked at it, she brought him back to life, and even though he is now a member of her nobility, he is alive, and that is what matters. Well, I do think it's selfish, Issei said, making Rias feel uneasy. If I hadn't been a potential sacred gear wielder, you would have let me die, he said, making Rias feel even worse. But you still revived me and gave me a second chance at life. This made her see him, though the brown-haired man remained serious. It wasn't in the best way, and I can't say there's any justification for everything that happened, but your sadness and regret are still evident, and you accept your mistakes. Coming from a demon, who according to Yuma are proud beings, that surprises me, he said, and Rias just looked at him. But still, it's strange to know that I stopped being human, and that I'm now a demon. It's hard to accept, and I think it will take me some time to process it, he said, lowering his gaze, and she understood. I understand, not everyone accepts that from one day to the next, she said, looking calmly at the brunette. Yes, I'd like to think things through more calmly, have a clear mind, and be able to process the fact that I've stopped being human, Issei said, looking at her, and she smiled understandingly. I understand, don't worry about it, you have the rest of the week off. I spoke at school and said you had family matters to attend to, and that it would take you at least 2 weeks, since you would be leaving the city, Rias said, and Issei was surprised by that. Wow, I wasn't expecting that, said the brunette, since thanks to that he had 2 weeks free to think things through. Rias smiled. These are small things I can do for you, so don't worry about it, Rias said, standing up. For now, I'll say goodbye. I'll let you think things over. I'll let Yuma stay with you since he cares about you a lot and it's not my place to interfere in their relationship. I'll send someone with your homework for the next 2 weeks, and when you're ready and return to the academy, I'll send someone to take you to the occult research club, she said with a calm smile. Issei nodded and stood up. Let me escort you to the door, Issei said. He had to be polite, as that's how his parents had raised him. Don't worry, I know the way out, just rest, you deserve it, she said with a gentle smile. By the way, can I call you Ice? She asked. Issei looked at her and blushed, since he wasn't used to a girl like Rias calling him that. Well, yes, if he can, said the brunette, making Rias smile even more. Then reputation with Rias Gremory. Okay, well Ice, see you later, take care, she said, leaving the room and leaving him alone. The chestnut-haired man only saw the door for a few seconds and sat down on the cloak before lying down, looking at the ceiling again. What a day, he said, mentally tired, though not too much because gamer mind was doing its job of relaxing him. He had barely woken up from his unconsciousness when he was bombarded with news. It will be hard for him to get used to his new life. After that, Yuma arrived with a tray full of delicious-smelling food, and the brunette feasted, flattering the black-haired girl who was very happy that Issei flattered her like that, causing his reputation with her to reach 290. Now he had 12 days left to think and relax, although he would also use them to see if he could get involved with a bucking dungeon. Now that was a reboot. 10, level up. 2 days later. Hide your residence. 2 days have passed since Issei awoke from his unconsciousness and learned that he was no longer human. During those 2 days I spent more time with Yuma, who was a very affectionate girlfriend and took care of cooking all 3 meals for me. Issei felt happy because he had a beautiful girlfriend just like he had once dreamed of, even though his grandfather kept putting the idea of having a harem in his head, something that was impossible, according to Issei. That brings us to the present, where Issei was saying goodbye to Yuma who had to return to his home in Gregory. See you later Ice-kun, I'll be back in 2 days, Yuma said, hugging Issei, who was also hugging her around the waist. Yes, be careful, Issei told the dark-haired girl. Yuma pulled back slightly and kissed Issei, who gladly reciprocated. Then she stepped back and smiled affectionately. See you later, and with that she went in a magic circle towards Gregory. Issei smiled. He felt lucky to have her. Well, since I don't have much to do and Yuma took care of the house while I was unconscious, I'd better think of a way to level up, he said to himself as he sat down on the living room sofa. Well, you could go find a dungeon, Alexia told him, and Issei remembered that detail. That's right, there are dungeons, but don't they have a level restriction? He asked, confused, since the only one he found was level 10. Apparently, not only was the system modified, but the dungeons also changed, and you could access them regardless of your level, although you won't know what's inside a dungeon because of that change, Alexia told him, surprising Issei. No restrictions, but with surprise enemies, wow, getting out of one problem only to run into another. What guarantees I won't end up in a dangerous dungeon if I even find one? Leveling up like that will be tough, he said, lying down on the couch and staring at the ceiling. I'll go out and see what I find. Anyway, I have the rest of the week to find a dungeon that will help me level up, he said, grabbing the remote and turning on the TV to see what was on. The hours passed, it was already 4 o'clock. Ding dong. The doorbell rang, and the chestnut-haired man got up from the armchair and went to see who it was. How strange, who could it be? He wondered when he opened the door and was met with a surprise. Oh, Ika, how are you? He asked Ika, who was still in her academy uniform and carrying a bag with some plastic containers. Hi, I'm fine, and you? You haven't been to the academy for 3 days now, did something happen? Ika asked, sounding clearly worried. First, come in, and no, nothing bad happened, it's just that I have some business to take care of in Tokyo, and I won't be back until Sunday, he lied, even though he didn't like it, but he couldn't tell her that he had fainted after dying, and was now a demon. Ika entered the house. So that's what it was. You should have told me. Don't you know how worried Konoha and I were? We thought something bad had happened to you, Ika scolded him while Issei laughed nervously. Sorry, it all came up suddenly, and I had to prepare several things, I forgot to tell you, sorry, he apologized as he followed Ika to the living room. Would you like something to drink? I have iced tea, soda, orange juice, Issei offered as she sat down on a sofa and put what she was carrying on the floor. Iced tea, please, she said. Okay, he's back and went to get the drink. After a few minutes, they were both sitting with a glass of iced tea in their hands, with Ika speaking first. And what do you have to do in Tokyo? Ika asked. Oh, I have to go see something with my aunt, Issei said, and Ika nodded. Well, look, I brought you this, she said, taking the bag and putting it in his lap. Konoha has been worried, so she cooked for you. She can't come because she has to get home, but she was hoping you were okay, so here it is, she said, and the brunette was surprised. Issei took the bag with several food containers. Apparently, Konoha put a lot of effort into it. Wow, she shouldn't have, she did too much, he said, feeling bad knowing that he made the girl spend so much money making this amount of food. I told her you'd say that too, but she said that if you didn't eat what she made for you, she'd never speak to you again, Ika said, making Issei feel even worse, so he decided to eat what the dark-haired girl had prepared. Anyway, since we won't see you until next Monday, how about we play for a while? She asked, pointing to this box one that Issei had received as a gift last year. Of course, Issei said with a smile. So the two of them spent their time playing various games, including Halo 5 Guardians, Call of Duty World War II and online multiplayer, and Mortal Kombat 11. Then Ika said goodbye and told him that she would send him the assigned tasks, which the brunette appreciated. Once alone, he ate everything Konoha had prepared for him, the food giving him a healing of 100 to 300 HP, surprising him, but he immediately dismissed it. Perhaps it was a coincidence, it wasn't as if Konoha could create potions. Remember the lottery tickets, Alexia reminded him, sounding shy, because she had kissed him before. Issei blushed as he remembered how he obtained those tickets. You're right, said the chestnut-haired man, going to the inventory and taking out the tickets. Common lottery ticket X2. Special lottery ticket X1. Issei looked at the tickets and thought about tearing them up. Maybe that's how they worked. He did it first with the first one. Then a screen appeared with a green roulette wheel. Common roulette. Rewards common. 45%, rare. 28%, super rare. 17%, epic. 10%. The roulette wheel quickly began to spin, and Issei eagerly awaited the outcome. After circling for 30 seconds, the arrow began to decrease its speed, falling into one of the orange spaces. Congratulations. Very rare item obtained. Experience flask. The bottle of experience. He wondered, confused, so he went to see what was up. He looked at his inventory and his eyes widened, for he recognized a bottle with a glowing green liquid. He analyzed it to be sure. Experience flask Minecraft, very rare, a flask containing experience. 500 exp. Issei was surprised and took out the jar to admire it. Awesome, it's just like Minecraft, but for real, Issei said in a fanatical way, because he really liked Minecraft. He stood in the middle of the room and threw it to the floor. When it broke, the green liquid dispersed and entered him, and it also looked like fireflies were floating around him. You have leveled up. A free level, that's appreciated, he said, smiling as he tore open the next common ticket. The roulette wheel spun again and stopped on an ordinary object. Item obtained 9mm bullets. Fun bullet. He wondered, confused, and looked in his inventory. Expecting something ordinary, he was surprised to see the red box of bullets with a black eagle painted on it. Pistol ammunition, Red Hawk 9mm, ammunition for any 9mm pistol. 50 cartridges. Okay, I don't know what I'll use this for, but it's cool, he said while holding the small red box of bullets in his hand. He looked at the last ticket, which was gold, so he tore it up because it was the special one. He watched as the roulette wheel changed from green to gold in exchange for his class. Special roulette common. 35%, rare. 25%, super rare. 18%, epic. 15%, legendary. 7%. Again the roulette wheel spun and after a minute it began to stop, landing in a golden space just like the first time. Congratulations. Very rare item obtained. Magic arrow. Issei looked at the magic section, where his fire magic used to be, and now there was the arrow spell. Spell arrow Final Fantasy series, very rare, inflicts wind elemental damage on an enemy, most effective on flying type enemies. Consumes 50 MP. Well, at least I now have something to bring down those flying creatures, that's good, said the chestnut-haired man, looking at the spell before lying down on the bed. Well, time for bed, since tomorrow is another day and I have things to do. And after saying that, he went to sleep, because tomorrow he would go out to look for a dungeon. The next day. It was another day and after breakfast, Issei went out into the streets of Kuo, making sure that no one he knew saw him. Okay, now how do I find a dungeon? He thought as he walked through the city center. Like before, an announcement will tell you when you're at least 10 meters away from one, Alicia explained, and the chestnut-haired man nodded. That's good, I don't want to walk all over the city to find one, he thought, because it was a pain to go all over the city. It's a shame the previous dungeon is gone. Hopefully, he'll at least find one that will help him level up. I walked through the city center, expecting to stumble upon a dungeon. Dungeon detected 10 meters to the west. And he didn't have to wait long. Great. And so he hurried to the place indicated by the little arrow that appeared in front of him. After walking for a few minutes, he arrived at one of the Kuo subway stations, which surprised him. He noticed that the arrow indicated that the dungeon was 3 meters ahead, and indeed, there was a kind of transparent ripple in the middle of the stairs that descended towards the stop, and he also noticed that people were indifferent to that ripple and passed through it. That's the entrance to the dungeon, it's normal that Nadia, besides you, can't see it, Alexia told him, and Issei nodded. The chestnut tree walked until it stood in front of the dungeon and used it to observe. Dungeon, beginner rank. I had no more information than that. Some people thought Issei was acting strangely as he was standing there staring into space. Well, let's get on with it, and so he entered the dungeon, causing something strange in the normal world, as people forgot they had seen the chestnut-haired man who disappeared along with the ripple. Inside the dungeon. Issei opened his eyes again, seeing that he was at the station, with the only difference being that it looked more gloomy and dismal, and he could hear strange sounds in the distance. What a creepy place, Issei said, looking into what was supposed to be a dark area. Remember that as a demon, he has a kind of night vision that helps him see in the dark. Issei didn't know whether to go down or leave the place. But then. New mission acquired. Let's see what mission this is, Issei said, opening the notification. Mission Silent Hill. Escape the city after defeating the boss. Reward 1000 exp, 3000 G, 40 AP and 3 common lottery tickets. Failure death. Silent Hill, don't mess with me, said Issei, understanding what kind of dungeon it was. To make sure he wasn't overthinking things, he left the station and what he saw made him tremble slightly. Something like this. I'm so pissed off at this whole damn place, they're throwing me into a nightmare-turned city, said the brunette, looking at the fog covering the city of Kuo, along with abandoned cars and buildings that looked dilapidated. You could barely see a few meters ahead, as the fog was too thick to see through. Issei walked a little, because he had to see what the hell he could find there. This doesn't give me a good feeling, said the chestnut-haired man, having already walked a block without any sign of an enemy. He stopped at an intersection, looking from left to right, hoping he could see something. When he was able to discern a humanoid silhouette through the thick mist, he became serious. The thing was walking towards him, its steps clumsy and slow, suggesting that what was coming was not human. Issei became alert because whatever it wasn't friendly at all. As it entered his field of vision, what confronted him was something straight out of the fantasies of any small child or traumatized person. Well, we started off easy, he said, watching the creature slowly approach, but then I spoke too fast, he complained as he saw a dozen of those creatures appear from various directions, looking out from all three sides. All of different types and shapes, it was something I didn't expect, but anyway, I should move and not waste any more time. This mission could become complicated if it is not done quickly. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.